Good evening, folks. This is the June 1st meeting, 2016, 7:30 p.m. of the Planning and Zoning Commission. We're in the Community Center, which is the Nathaniel Green Community Center at 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut. Would you please read the notice?
Legal notice, Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on June 1st, 2016 at 7:30 p.m. the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, the Nunkatuck Room on the second floor for the following purposes. Frank Magnotta, petition to amend the zoning map for property at 2455 Boston Post Road, map 84, lots 28 and 29, zones TS2 and R5. Request to change the area zoned R5 to TS2. Nicholas Varzo, 11 Pulpus Lane, map 122, lot 23-3, zone R8, special permit for human habitation of yurt, section 273-36. Lee Schachter, 155 Lower Road, map 16, lot 49-3, zone R5, coastal area management request to upgrade existing septic system within 100 feet of coastal resources. Petition from the Economic Development Commission to amend 273-47, site maintenance outside display of merchandise. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the Office of Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communication will be received. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 11th day of May, 2016. Tom Cost, Chairman.
Thank you. I'm noticing on my agenda, which I printed out this afternoon, that it doesn't have, is it Varzo?
Varzo.
It has Schechter and Magnotta. Do you have it on yours?
No.
Varzo's going to be on the 15th.
Varzo's continue to the 15th?
Okay. Before we get started, I'd just like to read this a bit about public hearings and the process for people that may not have been here before. We've just read the legal notice for the meeting tonight, and then this will be followed up by people who will who are applicants who will present their application to the Planning and Zoning Commission. At that point, when he's done, the commission will ask the applicant questions for clarification on anything that may be to them may be a question, and then the public will be invited to ask questions. And then following that, the asking of questions, there'll be time for the public to either make a statement opposing or in favor of the application. And remember, this is, some of these will be the first meeting of a two-meeting process. Others, we are in the second meeting. At the conclusion of all the statements, that the public and the applicant have made, we'll close that portion of the public hearing, and we will then move on. If we finish any of these applications tonight, which we should, I want to make it very clear that no matter what decision the Planning and Zoning Commission makes, someone who feels they're aggrieved absolutely has a right to appeal our decision to Superior Court in the state of Connecticut. With that, I'd like to introduce the members that are seated tonight. Josh Hirschman, Phil Johnson, Rich Meyer, Walt Corbiere, Tom Cost, Rich Wallace. Are you awake?
I'm in all tensed up here.
And George Underhill.
Right, you're missing Frank also.
Yeah, we're missing a couple people. There may be some people that show up, but this will be the commission that we start with. Okay, first thing up, second public hearing, Edward and Benton, 413 Vinland Point Road, map 4, lot 45, zone R5, special permit. You just want to briefly state again what you said at the last meeting and what you're doing?
Oh, yeah. I built a house
Sir,
right
could you
from
identify
the...
yourself, please?
Pardon?
Could you identify yourself, please? Name and address.
My name's Edwin Benton. I live at 413 Vineyard Point Road, Guilford.
Okay?
Well, anyway, the cellar is built with, it's a walk-in cellar, and I want to turn it into an apartment. And it was set up very nicely right from the beginning so that I could do that in my old age. And that's what I would like to do.
Okay. And we have seen plans, correct?
Yes, you have a, well, there's a letter here. Dennis Johnson, you did not have that.
We didn't have Dennis's letter.
This is from Dennis Johnson, dated yesterday. Did you receive a copy of this letter? It says that the applicant's proposed basement accessory apartment does not conflict with the design capacity of the current septic system existing on site. That's good. You're all set. Do you want a copy of it to keep for your records? That's,
Thought I was in the clear.
well, you are definitely in the clear now.
Oh, I am. Oh, I see it does.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Understood.
Double negative.
Thank you.
Again, Reggie, his application, everything, all the requirements are met?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I just noticed you didn't get a copy of my zoning diagnostic
Okay.
apartment. It does meet all the regulations. I'm just looking for it.
Okay, anybody that's on the commission have any questions? Any further questions?
Just a quick question, have you just chatted with this about, with any of your neighbors, are they all happy with this?
I haven't chatted with all of the neighbors. Actually, the neighbor that looks into my yard the easiest and the most sent a letter saying that he was in favor and that it would be a fine thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benton.
All right. Do you have any questions from, are there any questions from the audience? Neighbors, anybody? Anybody here that would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Anybody opposed? Okay, hearing none, would someone move, we close this portion of the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, next thing up, you can sit down, you're all set.
You can.
You can leave if you want, or you can wait for a decision.
I'll know about it sooner or later.
Yes, you will, yes. The next one is also a second mandatory referral, second public hearing. Deidre Jacob for Marketplace Emporia LLC, 77 Whitfield Street, map 39, lot 91C.
I probably read that.
Something cut off here. Special permit for application for outside dining and outside music. 273.75. Go ahead.
Deirdre Jacob, 33 Trolley Road, here representing the Marketplace Emporia LLC, 77 Whitfield Street. Just to recap, the property we're talking about is the back of the old food center. This is Whitfield Street, Water Street, and we're talking right behind the building here as part of the 33 Water Street parking project. And there's now a sidewalk that's situated 15 feet off the back of the building. We are actually continuing the work that we started a year ago in converting and revitalizing the back of the building. What we want to do is we put in 40 feet wide, or get the width of the back of the building 15 deep, bluestone patio that we want to have outside dining in with portable black metal tables and chairs and umbrellas. So that's the first part. We're looking to do outside dining. The hours were open in the seasonal weather, the summer weather, likely to 8 o'clock at night on weekdays, Saturdays, 4 o'clock on Sunday, maybe occasionally for a private party, 9 o'clock at night. That's the first part of the application. The second part of the application is that we'd like to be able to, as appropriate, have some soft outside music, either through a Sonos speaker where you can do soft music through speakers. We currently have that system inside the store where we play soft background music to create an ambiance, not to necessarily entertain, and occasionally maybe have an acoustic musician that might be appropriate for a small event or small party. So the current design is there is a parking lot. This is now the emergency driveway that comes down here. There's a sidewalk, and then we would segment the patio itself through the use of planters and small trees, so you get a sense of greenery as you look back coming towards the marketplace. We'd have about 10 tables there, planned for 25 to 30 seats. Additionally, they'd have the black umbrellas, as I mentioned. At this point in time, we are not putting lighting in, but we reserve the right to string some old-fashioned lights for ambiance with the new lamps that are going to be put in. They're really not there for lighting the new street design of the 33 Water Street.
We have a letter now recently.
Pardon?
Did you receive the letter from Dennis Johnson?
No.
About the septic?
No.
I'll read it.
And I just said we just put a whole new septic system in
So,
first weekend.
the applicant's current septic system, which was recently expanded, has adequate capacity for the proposed outdoor dining area. It is recommended that the applicant's proposed use be approved.
Okay. And this is kind of what it looks like right now from what it was before.
Members, questions?
The lighting is new?
No, the lighting was included in, this is the same chart I presented last time. It's the idea that might be strung to give you, in the summertime, an effect. But as we look at the placement of the lamp posts, there won't be lighting needed for dining, particularly the hours that we're going to be open, but we may want to do it for a special event.
Anybody else?
We covered it last time.
Anyone in the audience like to ask a question?
Tom, I've got a question, and it's more for staff. Is there any regulation regarding outside lighting that can be added at any time? And the reason I ask is I noticed that when I got out of my car, that there's all lighting around the front window here. So is lighting always okay to add?
I'm confused.
They want to string lighting up.
Right.
Is that something you have to ask for, or is that by right that you can do that?
That's part of the application for
Right,
tonight.
so ordinarily you would have to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, not for Christmas lights.
No, like white lights strung around the window.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be a fun batch of applications, Christmas lighting.
Okay, anybody in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application?
They've done a great job, and they should have their patio.
Would you just identify yourself, ma'am, for the record?
Wendy Geffler. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hi, sir.
Yeah, James Weiser, and I think they did a wonderful job too. Definitely support them.
Okay.
Jennifer Cowie, Mixed Design Store. I think you've done a fantastic job, and I welcome the thought that you would come out into the back there and have a little air dining.
Ma'am?
Cindy Wright, Spice and Tea Exchange, they're our neighbor, and they've been wonderful neighbors.
Anyone else? Sir?
Mark Klein, the Purple Bear Toy Store. Kudos and thank you. You've revitalized the town.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone opposed? Hearing not, will we close this portion of the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Next one up is Russ Campaign, is it Shahid? Shahid Residence. This is a second public hearing. It's 480 Clabber Hill Road, map 81, lot 27, zone R8, special permit application, accessory apartment and a detached accessory structure, 273-19. Office and a detached accessory structure, 273-36. This is the second public hearing.
Right. Russell Campaign, CK Architects, 131 Boston Street, Guilford. It's actually, we split the application, if you remember, because we needed a CAM for the office portion, and the CAM will be heard actually at the 15th. So The apartment is the second hearing tonight, and so I'd like to present that first, and I'm hoping that we can get a decision on it tonight. And then the office, which is associated with the CAM, we will have the first hearing tonight and have the second hearing on the 15th.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll present both together, but if you can sort of separate, is that fine if I present them both on the
It's okay with me, and if it's unless someone else.
Sure. So the property is on Clabbert Hill. The bridge across the East River is here, and you sort of come up the hill, and it's the first cape that's on your left-hand side going up Clabbert Hill. There's two outbuildings that exist on the property. This is the outbuilding which has a garage underneath and a current living space above that we're asking to be turned into an apartment. Right now, it does not have a kitchen. It does have a bathroom and 2 bedrooms. We're looking to add a kitchen in there to call it an apartment and a dwelling unit. So there's really no exterior changes other than some small window modifications for this. And we had a letter from Dennis last month or 2 weeks ago that the existing 2-bedroom septic system is adequate for its use. And so I don't know if there's any other questions. We meet all the other criteria associated with.
Yeah, the letter we updated yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And it says what you said. For the record anyway. Adequate wastewater capacity will be available for the applicant's proposed studio office through a shared septic system currently existing on the site for the accessory apartment. An exception to share a common septic system has been applied for through the State Health Department. It is recommended that the applicant's proposed use be approved.
So that's associated with the second, yeah, with this CAM application and the second building being tied into that existing septic system. But I think we fulfill all the other requirements for it. It's under 1,000 square feet. It's been in existence for 10 years, and I think we're in full compliance. This was sort of reviewed last meeting. And then the second application, which is within 100 feet of the critical coastal resource, so that you'll hear a CAM for at next hearing, is basically taking the existing interior space, but we are proposing to add 2 small porches that add to about 150 square feet of additional lot coverage in that area. So there's 2 open porches we're adding to sort of spruce up and make it look a little bit more interesting as a building. The building's history is it was built in 2001 with this other building, so it predates 10 years, and we're not proposing to expand it. It was originally built as a heated workshop, and it was converted to a studio by the previous owner, and my client is interested in turning it into a home office and a gym. As part of our proposal, we are adding a half bath, not a full bath, so it would not be a bedroom use, which doesn't really change, I don't think, under your guidelines, but that is part of the application, and that's what Dennis is referring to, because it will tie into this other existing system. There's adequate capacity to do so. So with that said, I don't think there's much else to say. I mean, I can show you the elevations that we have of this building. So basically, this is the existing shape of the building. These are the 2 porches that are being proposed to put onto it. They're going to be timber framed, sort of picking up on some of the interior detail that we have here. And we're proposing to put a metal roof on. And the exterior will be repainted. The existing materials will pretty much be in keeping. And we are replacing the older windows that are there and adding a couple of French doors. It's set probably 300 feet back on the property. It's really not visible from the street. It is visible from the river, but I think we're enhancing the appearance of it. From lighting and such, we are proposing some discrete sconce lighting and some pendants in the outdoor porches. Right now, there's no proposed floodlights or anything that would affect the river or enjoyment of the public space on the opposite side. And as I said, we will address, I guess, the CAM-related issues. We did get a waiver for inland wetlands because of the scale of the additions are going to be on sonotubes, so it's fairly small in its footprint. Basically, 6 sonotubes will be dug to put in the new porch. And in the CAM, there is some box turtles that were identified as habitat in the adjacent areas, but there's existing fencing that's downslope of it, and we're proposing to put in silt fencing and other things as an added barrier. But I think that the work of this will probably occur in about a week and a half and be done as far as the earthwork and such. It's very small as far as what's going on in the exterior.
Russ, did you see that, or did you already file a map combining parcel A and parcel A1?
Yes.
Okay.
So it will be submitted next week, but I have a Mylar and I have a quick deed that I can submit if you're interested. But yes, and you can put that on as a condition. Okay. It's in the works and should happen next week.
So
So that was, there was a separate parcel that was for sale originally?
They were sold, they were split, actually, sort of split twice, but yes, there's two 2-acre parcels. It was part, I think, was taking advantage of that single split that was offered to these zones. So they did split, the former owner, and my client is looking to combine those two and give up rights to develop on this parcel, which is up adjacent to the East River Preserve. So it'll be one 4-acre parcel, and that is, can't be contingent on it. It's in the process if you want to make it so.
If they do that, doesn't that obviate the need to do this health department exception?
No.
You
The
still
health
have to do
department
that?
exception is a detached building servicing, two detached buildings servicing into a single septic system. So you still need the waiver for that. You're supposed to have an independent septic system for every detached building in the way that the health code reads. They offer waivers often when it's a situation like this, but there's other situations where they don't.
So it doesn't have anything to do with there being a separate lot?
No. I was a little confused by Dennis. He asked some questions associated with that.
That's what I thought Dennis said to me.
No,
also.
you have to actually seek a waiver. You need a separate tank to service the building, but you can share a leaching field. But he does have to get a waiver from the state health department on that. It might have been proximity to the adjacent lot that he had concerns with because the lot lines were fairly close, and so maybe it was a proximity issue. But regardless, they had interest from the get-go to unify the lots for tax purposes and otherwise, so.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? I neglected before, and I just want to do this now because staff members are talking. I didn't introduce George Quall, which I think everybody knows, and Reggie Reed, which everybody knows. And Liz Brewer, who is the administrative assistant. She's doing a great job with all the paperwork and everything. And Shannon Gale is a videographer from the famous GCTV. Having said that, how about people from the audience? Any questions? No? None? How about people that are either supportive or against this application? Close public hearing number 1. So let's close public hearing number 1.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. It's number, well,
What's that?
Number 3.
it's actually public hearing number 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's still right.
Okay, so we're closing the second public hearing, so as far as we're concerned at this point, we can move forward on the attached department, and we'll get to the office structure next meeting. Correct? Okay, the next up is the second public hearing for a petition from the Economic Development Commission to amend 273-47 site maintenance, outside display of merchandise. Yes, sir.
Okay, out of perception, I have been on public boards for almost 20 years in town. Haven't had any reason to recuse myself. However, with my current employment, running the Dollar Tree downtown in Guilford Plaza, I feel I'm going to recuse myself from this public hearing and deliberations. But I did have one thought going through this morning, walking. Over the years, we've talked about the merchants on the green. Someone comes to develop a store, what's this mean to the merchants on the green? Or merchants in town, the little guy?
Okay, all right. Okay, sir, just introduce yourself and Rich.
Good evening. Mark Wasserman, 167 Glenwood Drive. I am a commissioner for the Economic Development Commission as well. I've prepared a statement so I don't mess up again like I did last time. Good evening. For the members of the commission that we already have your support, I thank you in advance for your votes this evening. For those of you that we don't, I have gathered some additional information for you. To start with, when this zoning regulation was written, when the town's zoning regulation was written, the creators did not envision what today's shopper would look like. Brick and mortar stores have become a place to do research for purchasing items online at Amazon, eBay, Overstock, and other mall-type sites. For example, a shopper can go into Breakwater Books, look around, finds a book, reads the covers, checks the price. Then they pull out their cell phone, scan the barcode, and find it online for 20 to 50% less. The same principle holds true for almost all stores anywhere in Guilford. With the rising costs of rent, inventory, shipping, taxes, and employees, today's shop owner has to market themselves any way they can to not only make sales, but to draw customers into their shops. We should not be the ones who stand in the way of making them successful. A small display is a great way to show prospective customers, yes, we're open, and this is what we sell. Think of it as their open sign, much more appealing to the eye than flashing LED signs in every shop window. Wouldn't you agree? Let me give you a little history of how this amendment came to be. This amendment was not the brainchild of the EDC. The EDC took up the cause on behalf of our local shop owners. In June of 2014, some of these shop owners came to the EDC meeting to express their frustrations of doing business in Guilford. One of the things that came out of that meeting was a suggestion from one of the owners that they be allowed to display some merchandise outside their shops more than just 8 days a year and without having to get special permission to use those 8 days. So how does the public feel? Commissioner Meyer posted in the Simply Guilford group on Facebook about this amendment. And once I tallied the results, I found that 83% of people who responded for or against this amendment were in favor of it. In addition, I spent last Friday afternoon walking around our green, talking with both merchants and shoppers, and I found that not a single person I spoke with thought that this was a bad idea. So how do our neighboring towns handle this issue? Branford and Madison both have zoning regulations. Branford zoning regulations is listed in 2 separate spots. One is a classification of what outside storage is, and it's defined to be the outside storage or display of merchandise. It is governed by 21641, repairs and obstructions. Every person owning any land upon adjacent to which there is a sidewalk shall keep such sidewalk at all times in a safe and convenient condition for the use of the public and shall remove therefrom all obstructions in any way endangering or impeding the public travel upon the same. This was given to us by Terry Elton, who's their economic development coordinator. Sorry, a lot of paper over here. Madison has split up their, districts into the downtown district and to the rural district. However, 6221, which is part of their site plan review, item E, which relates to retail sales establishment, and this is the same for both their downtown districts and their rural districts. You get the point. That govern the displays. All activities shall be carried on within the building except for the display of merchandise within 20 feet of a building. It is the same for both downtown and the other one. I'm going to try and say it again. We were talking about the enforcement of this. Just as we have a fantastic police department to handle the laws of our town, we have a fantastic zoning enforcement officer to handle the enforcement of this amendment. I was also told that this amendment, if passed, would be very difficult to appeal. Well, let me tell you, it's no picnic getting it passed either. But that's why we have this process of amendments. When our founding fathers wrote the Constitution, they knew it wasn't a perfect document. And by that same token, neither are our zoning regulations. It can be changed if it needs to be, and it will be changed if it needs to be, just as we are doing today. In closing this evening, I'd like you to ask yourselves, what would you rather see? A small, tasteful display A small, tasteful display outside a storefront on a busy, vibrant green or shopping plaza, or empty storefronts, because our local businesses can't compete with our neighboring towns or online shopping. I thank you all for your time this evening, and I look forward to you passing this amendment. Thank you.
Any questions? I got a question. Okay. How do you define tasteful? It's hard to define that. And
of course it is.
You're right about,
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Right. So I thank you for bringing up that I posted this, and I did, because a lot of times I really want to represent what people want. And a lot of times I don't know what people want. And so one of the best ways of doing that is to ask everyone what they want. And you're right, the majority of people do want it, but they want it to be tasteful. And I'm having a hard time with that. You said about enforcement being difficult. There would be no enforcement of tasteful. We're saying that they can put anything out if we say yes to this. And, I was thinking about what Reggie said last week about how it's very difficult to enforce the whatever you have right now rule, like every third Sunday or whatever it is. But, it's also very difficult to enforce speeding on the highway, but policemen do it. So, that's right. So the ability to enforce or the ease of enforcement should not come into the question of whether or not something should be permitted. And one of the issues that I have is everyone's talking about being tasteful, and I don't know how to quantify or qualify that. And finally, about 6 or 7 or 8 people wrote it, maybe 10. And in the end, one person said, if you're going to do it with a time limit of 1 year to see how it's going. And so I think it's important that everyone, including the public, knows that people are writing in and that their opinions are valid. So what can we look to? What can we feel comfortable about saying that it's going to be tasteful or not? If we say yes, it could be anything, no?
It could be anything that is customarily sold within that business. So yes, it can be. As you pointed out, one of the posters did post that there should be a time limit. However, earlier in the post, they were fully in favor of it. In reading through these guidelines, I don't see any abuse of the proposal. It is important to discuss how all businesses can have access to advertising other businesses have through grandfathering.
Right, and they do say that. A couple of people, had questions about what grandfathering meant, and what they're talking about is Pages Hardware can put everything out they want because they did it 100 years ago.
Correct.
We only came along in the 50s, I think, or the 60s.
But by that same token, the speed limit on Murray Lane when I moved into Guilford was 30 miles an hour. Now it's 25. So am I grandfathered into doing 30 miles an hour?
Yeah, absolutely. Guilford. Go for it. I'm going to try. Next time I get stopped, I'm going to say, well.
I've lived here so long.
So, you're right. And the other people expressed that they don't want it to look like a rummage sale.
Tag sale, yes.
Tag sale. And I don't want that either. So
nobody does.
That's why I'm hanging up on the idea of what is tasteful. And I would also say this, someone brought up the thing about the sandwich board signs. And so, I asked Reggie...
That is signage. That
right.
falls under a different part of the amendment of the regulations, and we're not addressing that this evening.
Thank you. But now, let me finish. So I asked Reggie in the last meeting, about enforcement procedures against racks that I took pictures of outside of stores.
Right.
And you talked about speeding and breaking the rules and breaking the laws.
Right.
And so one of the things that happens is very frequently, very, very, very frequently, the business community violates the signage laws. As recently as Monday on Labor Day, our friends here at the restaurant on the corner decided that since Reggie wasn't at work that day, they would put up a feather sign. And they know that they shouldn't do that, but they do it when she's not at work.
Right.
And I think that's absolutely absurd that they do that, and it's disrespectful to people in town. And I will tell you this, I have stopped going to businesses that violate the signage laws. I am personally voting with my wallet.
Okay.
While I vote here, and it can't get enforced because she's not at work every day, I can vote with my wallet, and so I don't go to those stores. But my question to you is this.
Okay.
And I know I'm getting long-winded.
No, go.
If we say yes to this,
yep.
why would we think that compliance with this would be any different than their lack of compliance with the silence laws? It's the same people, the same disrespect.
You're absolutely right. So if we don't pass this, what's the likelihood that they're never going to put anything out on the sidewalk?
So we should pass it because it's going to break the law and do it anyway?
We should pass it to give them the opportunity to be successful and do it with our blessing.
Be successful, but unfortunately, this board is tasked with the issue of making this town, all the different things it is. One of the things we do is protect the character of the town.
That's right.
And the value of property. And so that value of property by protecting the character of the town comes before the success of businesses. They're not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
We want to find a path forward where they can be successful, but I'm not personally willing to sacrifice the character of the town in order to make that happen. Now, I'm on the fence right now with this whole thing.
Sure.
I'm torn because I really, really want everyone in this town that's operating a business to succeed. I do.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Do you ever go to Madison?
Of course.
Okay. Madison has no restrictions. They have plenty of displays out all the time. They are tasteful, and their property values haven't shrunk. They're higher than ours.
I don't know that that's true.
I do.
So, in other words, we can drive our property values by putting clothing out on the streets in downtown?
In a way, yes, you can, because by driving, you're promoting tourism. You're bringing people to town. You have good shop owners who are making a profit and who are doing things well and doing things right, most of them. Are you going to have people that skirt the rules? Yes, always, of course, and that's what Reggie is for.
But they do it when she's at home, and that's not right.
Mark,
But,
what's the,
sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead, I'm sorry.
what's the value of this to shop owners,
They will tell you in just a few minutes.
just in terms of monetizing it?
I will let them answer that question because they can answer that better than I can. While I am a business owner, I am not a shop owner.
What you're proposing right now is a 2,000% increase in the number of days. Is that right? Or
Sure.
Is it just a 300% increase?
I think it's close to a 300% increase, I think would be a better representation.
From the
4 times from what we had.
that we have in the code versus the one that has a person that had recently expired. I think it's probably 2,000 times greater than the statute.
Okay, so the statute, I mean, the reg has 8 days.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what we're looking at here that has just been proposed is around 3 times 4 times 9, so that's 12 times 9, so that's 108 days.
Yeah, it's complicated, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
It is.
so for an approximation, we have, currently the regs allow 8 days a year, but people tend to have...
With permission.
People have to ask first.
That's correct.
Which has been a hassle.
That is correct.
We had 1 year that just expired that was more expansive.
Correct.
And now we're looking at 108 days a year town-wide.
That is correct. The previous amendment was town-wide as well.
Yes. 2 years ago, I talked to Janet Testa about the green and walkable areas.
Correct.
When it came to this.
Correct. She was involved with the original planning of this.
Yeah, and we sort of went over options. When it came back out of the EDC, it was much more expansive than sort of, what I originally sort of...
Sure, shoot for the moon, land on a star.
But this, when you come to the Planning and Zoning Commission, it's not exactly like a negotiation. You don't want to do a sort of Trumpian, like, hyper overvaluation of...
No, this is not political.
And roll it
not
back.
at all.
No, what I mean is like the number of days, right? So we're looking at, by a lot of measures, we're looking at a massive increase, right? Like,
yeah.
1,200% increase.
Sure.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
With due respect, a 1,200% increase on 0 is still a very small number.
On 8, yeah, right,
The
yeah.
amount of, what constitutes a display?
Oh, yeah, come on up, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mr.
I don't want to usurp your time.
Mark?
No, that's fine, that's fine. Let's do this.
The chair,
Rich,
yes.
I'm sorry, Walter. Why don't we hear from the merchants now? And then I will come back up afterwards. And keep in mind that this is one item, the days. Okay, there are other items in here that we have addressed, the concerns of this commission directly.
The days and the need for prior approval are sort of what I've been focusing on.
Understood. Let them tell you.
Thank you, Mark.
Sure, thank you.
Mark Klein, 63 Whitfield Street, the Purple Bear Toy Store, here with my partners. Maybe give you a little bit of background in terms of what retail is facing nationally and right here on the green. Mark kind of alluded to it, but with the advent of the internet, your children, your grandchildren will never see a retail store. Right now, you can go online, forgetting about buying on Amazon, you can buy from the Chinese manufacturer through GearBest, TomTop, and a dozen others for what the retailer pays, not what the retailer charges you. Every single store on our green that became available for re-rental has turned into a restaurant, perhaps a dental office, perhaps offices. You can look at Madison and see storefront opportunities right on the Boston Post Road having no doors to allow the public in. They become financial consulting offices. Retail is on the demise with one wonderful exception. If you live in an area that can attract tourists, tourists don't pre-think their purchase. When the cruise boat stops, you get off the boat and you spend money. If you have a day or a week or a month to plan your purchase, you go into the Purple Bear, you see if your child fits on the rocking horse, you see if your child likes the rocking horse, and then you buy the rocking horse online from GearBest for less than I pay for it, not what I sell it for. I'm confused by this amendment because somehow or other the word display has not been defined. I happen to think what Pages has in front of its building is awesome. It is seasonal, it's appropriate, it is vintage, it enhances our community. I happen to think the table and chair in front of Cilantro is fantastic. What a great concept, a place to sit down and have coffee. Yet according to what Mark is looking to have accomplished, that table can be removed at the whim of you gentlemen, saying that a table and chair is a display. The marketplace, it's done wonders to revitalize the green and revitalize the town. But its table and chairs outside can be taken away. And according to the very document we're trying to impose, that table and chair can be limited to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I want my donut on Tuesday. Do you have the right to say no? Your interpretation of number 47 says you do have the right to say no. That makes no sense to me. Our haberdasher and clothing stores that have mannequins outside of them. Well, West Hampton, East Hampton, Bridgehampton, Kennebunkport, Nantucket, all have mannequins, and they're all wealthy communities. In Dukander, I happen to think our mannequins are dressed better and are prettier than their mannequins, but you people seem to think that you have the right to say which days of the week a mannequin can adorn the store. I don't understand how that's zoning. None of those mannequins require septic. It's just somewhat confusing to me. According to this exact document, it says this committee has the right to tell me I cannot have a welcome mat in front of my store. I cannot ask you for permission to have a welcome mat on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because I don't think you have the right to tell me when I can have a welcome mat ever. I'm confused. Reggie came to the Purple Bear and helped and served me, and I said, I have to cease and desist from the display I have outside. I said, Reg, help me find it. And we looked, and she's awesome, but she couldn't find it. Collectively, we thought maybe it was a balloon hanging on a doorknob. Reggie came back a month later and served me again. This time it was a wooden statuette, like a cardboard cutout, that protects people from falling off the historically correct stone that we couldn't remove to make the store safe for wheelchairs. It had to stay. So we have a little bit of a statue saying, don't step there. We thought maybe that was what our violation was. We found that it wasn't. Reggie came back yet again. The dating's been going on for a while now. And Reggie said, I found out what it was. It was the bubble machine. Now, the bubble machine doesn't sit on the sidewalk. It doesn't protrude any further than our windows. It doesn't consume anything. It makes no noise, and it attracts these little kids who scream. I would like to petition this group to have little children taken away from the green. They make noise, they make a mess, and they're not in the spirit of Guilford. What are your rights, and who gave them to you? I don't understand why you're in charge of my bubbles, or my doormat, or my balloons. It said merchandise has to be a display. I don't sell those balloons. I give them away to the squealing kids who come to play in the bubbles. I don't get this. We're asking for more days to do what we should have the right to do every day. Thank you. One more thing. My background is in marketing and advertising. It goes back 35 years. I'm the former vice president of marketing of the Washington Post. It's not a small group. People don't want to see racks of clothing outside. You're wrong. A sale is self-governing. When it no longer attracts people, the entrepreneur puts the sale rack away. If you put the sale rack out 2 or 3 times, it loses its value. We don't live in a police state. Your kids deserve to see stores. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Of course, absolutely.
I have the Spice and Tea Exchange in Guilford. It's in between the bookstore and the chocolatier. We really don't have any space to put anything out, but we do open our doors, and as a result, we bring people in because of the smell that emanates from our business. So we probably would not be using, but I have no objection to having other people around me putting things out on display. As I said, Dee is one of our neighbors, the marketplace, and I think it's really kind of quaint having the little tables out there. I would hate to see them go away. The bookstore really doesn't have space either to put stuff out, but when they do, I mean, people are constantly looking in their windows, and there's nothing better than the smell and the feel of a book. So it would be nice to be able to do it as often as they wanted to. And I really don't have anything else to say. I just think that it's a, this is my husband, Greg. Also part owner.
Come for me, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. About my only comment is that whatever helps one store there may well help others. Consider the mushroom effect that this green still requires. There's a big investment here. The entire community loves this green. I love it. I came from Killingworth. I was stuck in the country, which I love, by the way, but my wife found this and recommended we put a store here, and I haven't regretted it one iota.
Tom put his store in Killingworth.
Exactly.
That's a whole other story.
So
You want to talk about regulations?
we really, well, talk about negotiations. So it's very important to support the people that have put their money, their capital, their lives at risk for the benefit not only of themselves, but for the entire appearance of the green, because that's what we're invested in. It's an amazing place, and we are unique. It's the best green in Southern Connecticut as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Anybody else?
Yeah. Jennifer Cowie. I live at 55 South Fair Street. I own Mixed Design Store on Whitfield Street. I've lived in Guilford all my life, and I guess most importantly, I serve on the EDC, and we worked hard on this document for my fellow merchants and for me. And I think we have such a unique resource in this beautiful Guilford Green, and I think it's behooves us to do everything we can as a town to help our fellow merchants. I look at other towns in Connecticut and I see all of the shops drying up. They're turning into insurance companies, they're turning into banks, they're turning into more realtors, and that is not what drives people to come to the town of Guilford. The insurance companies, the banks, and the realtors. What drives them is to come and see this unique green, shop with the merchants, these independent merchants that work hard to grow their businesses. And I'm just very passionate about it. I think we need, as a town, to do everything we can to keep these merchants, because once they're gone, and we're going to have not much on the green to draw people to our town, our beautiful, beautiful town. So that's basically all I have to say, but I do feel very strongly about it. My mother was born in Guilford 98 years ago, so we have a long history.
Jennifer, could you just monetize the effect that this would have compared with, say, putting in a large shopping development somewhere off of the green, which,
Well, I think we talk about tourism all the time. We'd like to bring more people to our beautiful town and have them spend their dollars in our restaurants, in our shops. And people in the big shopping malls, they're not going to come in necessarily to our town. They're going to go do their shopping at their mall and then leave. We have a place that is picturesque, charming, and a welcoming place with independent stores and shops and realtors, real estate.
Putting this stuff out has some kind of value to the shop.
Oh, I can't put a value on it. I don't know what the value is. All I know is that if somebody sees something, I mean, people are driving down the street and they're focused on what they're doing. If they see something and say, oh, this looks interesting, I'd love to stop in there. I like what I'm seeing out on their step, or I like what I'm seeing on the mannequin. I didn't realize that was there. Actually, we are in our 9th year at Mix, and you can't imagine how many people from Guilford come in and say, gosh, I've never been in your store before. This is a really cool store. How long have you been here? Oh, we've been here for 9 years. And they said, well, where are you from? They said, Guilford. We've just never been, we've never noticed it before. We've never seen it. So I'm just saying, it's just, I'm not even so sure I think it's more the fact that we need to embrace all of our merchants, our fellow merchants around town, and say, we support you. Let's try it. Let's do something to help you, instead of always saying, no, we shouldn't do that. No, we can't dictate good taste. No, we don't need to do that.
Would you prefer it to be 365? Just to have it be just open and just let people do it whenever they choose?
It also depends a little bit, Walter, on your location and how far you're set back.
Oh, it definitely does.
Yeah. So, I would agree with you. I don't think it has to be specified for just weekends or whatever. No, I guess I would agree that it should be 365. What's the difference?
How about if it was just doubled from what was winter?
Shoveling snow.
Well, okay, sure.
There might be days you would choose not to do such a thing.
Right.
Having it open. I guess the other thing is you're talking really about a financial value that these businesses would reap from being able to put things out front. And you think it would be very significant?
I think it is very significant. I mean, we have a little bit different situation at Mix because we have steps that go up and a landing. And we can put some display there that's not in anyone's way or any. But a lot of my fellow merchants do not have that, and they need to have something out there that can say who they are and what they sell.
And that would include Route 1?
Yeah, sure. I apologize because I am speaking mostly about the green. because I'm very passionate about the green, because I can see that disappearing, like all of those independent stores have disappeared in Westbrook and Southbrook, stuff like that. A, they couldn't afford to pay the rents anymore, but B, they just dried up. And I don't want our town to dry up. I think that's what's so beautiful and unique about our green, is that we do have viable, independent retailers. And it's most unusual, I think, right now. So I guess I'm just asking if you could really consider how we could help our fellow merchants be successful. You asked me if I can put a monetary value on it. I can't. But I can tell you, the more things we do to help our fellow merchants, the better it is for all of us. That's really all I have to say.
Well, if we could, ma'am, I'd like to just let other people that haven't spoken speak.
So I'm Wendy Ifkovic, and my husband Frank and I own the building that contains Lulu's, Edward Jones, Tracy 2, the House of Fashion, and the Guilford Coin Shop. And I'm here representing the merchants in those stores, particularly the women's stores. And they've asked me to come because they really feel that it would be of great value monetarily to have a mannequin outside that represents their stores, so that people can just, on a quick pass-by, get a kind of an idea of what's in those stores. And just as Jennifer was saying that, towns have lost their retail stores to real estate people and lawyers and such. If you look at the town of Essex about 5 years ago lost a lot of their retail stores to all sorts of office places. And it used to be this town where tourists just came to shop. And just that alone makes Essex not as desirable as it once was. The other thing is, you were talking about the value of a store. If my retail stores are valuable and they sell well and they can pay the rents that Frank and I charge, then my building becomes more valuable. When one of my newer retail stores went in, I was first approached by a real estate company to turn it into a real estate company. And Frank and I felt, and of course you all know Frank owns Frank's Package Store, Frank just thought that the character of Guilford deserved retail stores, not a bunch of real estate stores. We have a lot of real estate agencies. So I just hope that you all will support this motion.
And so that certainly creates a dead zone when we end up with a lot of real estate, or
yes,
when we start pulling a certain density of customers out of the closely clustered center of town.
Yes.
Do the displays really increase the traffic that is coming to you?
Well, all I can tell you is that my tenants, I don't run the stores, that my tenants feel strongly that it will increase their traffic. Just as Jennifer said, they will try anything to increase their traffic. We're in the history.
Except showing up a few years ago when we were making choices that affected.
Well, my stores have turned over. So the two of my stores are totally new. Tracy 2 and House of Fashion weren't there 2 years ago.
Because this Planning and Zoning Commission has made some decisions in the past few years that have severely undermined the traffic that occurs in the middle of the community.
Okay, I was unaware of that, so.
I guess maybe nobody was. That's our magic, is that we're stealthy.
Right.
Now I don't see signs bringing extra people to the green.
I don't.
Or extra, I'm sorry, merchandise displays.
It isn't just bringing people to the green. It's bringing people that live in Guilford to just walk down those sidewalks. I mean, there might be someone that parks, down in front of St. George's and is going to go to the marketplace and has not gone into Flutterby's or Purple Bear or Tracy 2 or any of them. And they just, in their mind, they're going to the marketplace. And if they saw an outside display that might attract their attention, they might go in the store. I mean, that's all I think they're trying to do. They're just trying to achieve more traffic. And I'm not saying it's going to be people out of town. It could just be Guilford folk.
Let me...
We see a tremendous change in business during anything that we call the tourist business, or the tourist time of season. That would be pre-Christmas and for the 4 months that surround the summer. And you all should be somewhat heartwarming, because we actually see Guilford residents bring their families who have visited the Guilford home into the store saying, this is my dream, this is my favorite store, this is the thing I told you about. They are proud of that strip of stores, our residents are, and the people who visit us by invitation because they're trying to bum a free weekend in Connecticut, or because the bus stopped and they got off, they get to walk that strip and they find it interesting. And what you can do, and again, you ask them to monetize the value of that mannequin outside the door. The monetization is in the mind's eye of the storekeeper. Whether that tourism increased or didn't increase, it kept that person plugging away. It kept people walking in front of the store and finding it more interesting than a dentist clinic, dialysis clinic, and a real estate office, which is the way it is going. I want when people visit Grandma in Guilford, they walk our green. If that's what keeps the storekeeper happy, fine. I don't think I see an increase in revenue because there are bubbles in front of the toy store. I do see an increase in kids who are having fun because there are bubbles in front of the toy store.
I have video of that.
I actually have a video.
I'd like to keep this moving along. Is there anybody else back there that would like to comment? Dee?
D. Jacob, 33 Trolley Road. When researching to buy a business in downtown Guilford and what to do with it, I took a look at the history of Guilford and particularly the history of the Green. Our early founders really understood the importance of having merchants downtown, so much so that they changed where the bottom of the green was so a blacksmith could be there, because a blacksmith as a merchant was very important to the health of not only those who lived in the town, but drawing more people to other elements of the town. Merchandising was occurring on the green for those who sold or traded things by open display in front of their booth, in front of their elements. I have pictures of the building that we bought that predated the 1931 building. And again, it actively showed not only display on the old Landon House, but display outside for a variety of places. Because in the early days, for small business, for independent business, the way someone knew kind of what you had was what was displayed outside. It said you were open for business. That is the character of this town. That is the history of this town. And what they're proposing, or what's being proposed from the Economic Development Commission, is to go back to that same heart and soul of early Guilford in drawing people to our merchants as a means to attract them to come in. It doesn't make them buy, but it gives you another opportunity.
Anyone else?
Can I add?
Well, let's get through the first group. He hasn't spoken. And someone over here, I think, had your hand raised. You'll be next.
Hi, my name's Andrew Page. I'm with Page Hardware and Appliance on the south end of the green. I'm the guy that's got all the stuff grandfathered. The question about monetizing the value of it, I guess we could look at the square footage of our displays, and granted, they might be small, looking at a lot of the folks that have their businesses on the west side of the Green. I don't know what their rent is, but I got a hunch that they're paying a pretty good rent based on the square footage. So even having a small rack out that's 3 by 6 for a couple weekends a month, that's another 18 square feet. It starts to add up. And then quite frankly, we do our sidewalk sale. We track what we sell at that sale. We always know what we've sold ballpark, dollar-wise. So, to monetize it, yeah, the value of the rent, because you're picking up a little extra space to display some stuff, and then obviously you're making sales off of what you're selling on the sidewalk. In terms of making business harder for small businesses, I think the state legislature has already done their fair share on all of that, and I beg you guys to go easy on the rest of the merchants in the community. It's pretty difficult running a small business, and quite frankly, I think Mark mentioned, the Amazon and everything. We all face that, whether it's a major appliance or, a dress, whatever it is, it's all available online. The other thing I think I'm just going to say is, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but small businesses, it's just all the research shows the value that small businesses bring to communities and to the employees, and the money that's returned.
I'm trying to tell you that, Brian.
The money that's being returned back to the community and stuff. So. I don't have a real hard, fast opinion other than we should make it easier for people to do business in our community rather than make it difficult, and that's kind of where I'm going to leave it.
Thank you, Andrew. Ma'am? Please identify yourself for the record.
Catherine Green, 29 Whitfield Street. I'm a property owner in town. I'm a landlord. I'm landlord to Divine Bistro and Mixed Design Store. I own the Green Art Gallery. And so I'm in there, fully involved in sustaining businesses on the Green. When you talk about good taste, I think of my late husband, Richard Green, and the Green Gallery. The theme was good taste costs no more at the Green Gallery. The fact that we have 2 historic districts, that the center of our town is on the National Registry of Historic Places, screams that we have good taste. And that the businesses that we attract here, and as a landlord, I only rent to excellent people. And I think most of the landlords in town feel the same way. So I trust the merchants. I really do trust them to do the right thing. And I support their ability to know what to do about putting things out to attract people. Yes, they do attract people. Things on the street make people feel the town is alive. It's exciting. It's wonderful to see it. So I'm all for it. I just wanted to say that a couple of years ago, a couple from Westport came into the gallery, and they said to me, "Are you holding the line here in Guilford?" And I said, "What do you mean by that?" And they said, "Well, in Westport, we didn't hold the line." And what happened, and I don't know for what reason, but Banana Republic, Gap, and all of these stores moved in because the small businesses couldn't make it. So I'd like to feel like we're holding the line here for the shopkeepers and for the people of Guilford who love to shop locally. So I hope you do vote for this regulation. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Either for or against?
What about Brian? Wait, Brian, I got
Yeah, I can't help not. Brian McGlone, Economic Development Coordinator, for those of you that don't know me.
I've seen you around.
It's hard to figure out where to begin. But a couple of comments.
Holding the line. Start with that.
Well, one of the things that hit me as I look at many of these business owners, friends of mine, they're also Guilford residents. They're Guilford. Most of these people, maybe all of them, if we go back and audit them, do they want their town to look like junk? No. They have good taste. And good taste is in the eye of the beholder, but the merchandise that all of these people have is good stuff. We're talking about 1, 2 items. Good taste. Go to Beth's. Nice woman's mannequin out in front of her store with a dress or a scarf or a hat or a jacket. You can go down the street, you see those kinds of things. Go over to Ella's, another good taste. Now, Ella went to the trouble a couple of years ago, as ludicrous as I think this is, She had to get her site plan changed and spent a couple $100 to get her site plan changed to get that mannequin out there. But she went to that trouble because she thought it was that important to her business, as did Chroma Gallery a couple of years ago. That happened, and they spent hundreds of dollars to get the right permitting and drawings changed and everything else. Just amazes me. Andrew, I mean, here's an iconic business in town, and he has lots of stuff. And I go past there every day, and I go, yahoo. Because to me, it shows me that business is alive and well, and I know there's a ton of stuff in there, and I've been buying there since 1980. I mean, so, you know, I see this stuff out there. Does it necessarily drive me in all the time? No, but there's stuff I see, and I react and I act. Somebody used the word vibrance. That's what when I see the town, I see it's vibrant, it's alive. When I see Beth's door open and the mannequin is there, I know she's open for business. Let's walk in. And whether it's there or House of Fashion or the bookstore, I mean, we can go up and down the street and we see these things. So I endorse this. And Richard, maybe particularly, I would like you to look hard in your post. You know, you said you're on the fence, but 83% or whatever the number of the people that took the time to respond are almost like, what's the big deal? I mean, you can't even believe that we have to talk about this and think about this. Most of them, 83%, said this is good. This is good for business. It's good for Guilford. Very difficult to monetize, you know, I mean, but all of them intuitively feel like it helps their business. I mean, just because they're increasing the number of days 300%, they think they're going to grow their sales 300%. You know, if that's our rationale, we're crazy. That's not going to happen. So I guess I'll get off by just saying I hope the commission here is listening to what our business owners, our residents, our neighbors are saying, and they'd like to see this ordinance passed and extended the days that we've identified for the time being. And if putting another cap on it for a year makes anybody feel better about voting for it, then I would recommend that. But I don't think it's a trial that we really need to do. But if that would convince anybody here that's on the fence, then I would go ahead and support that as well. So,
Brian, let me ask, are there any businesses that would be eligible to do this that you feel would be inappropriate in terms of having outside displays to attract more business?
I mean, you're the existing businesses in town?
Any existing business in Guilford, are there any that you can think of where you can say, you probably wouldn't want an outside display to attract more business to there?
And maybe I can help you with that.
Yeah, good. Please do, because I can't think of one right now.
So Reggie, when I was chair, Reggie had sent me a copy of a complaint that our friends at Monroe Muffler had put a stack of tires out on the curb. And they did it nicely. I mean, it was done tastefully. It built a little pyramid, and it was right up by the sidewalk. And I remember driving by, before she said anything to me, I thought, wow, you know, they got a stack of tires out there. It didn't look good to me. But, you know, that's what we're saying yes to. We're saying yes to that. We're not just saying yes to some bubbles at Purple Bear. We're not just saying yes to all the beautiful, wonderful things that everyone's talking about. We're saying yes to an awful lot of stuff. And, you know, you ask where our powers come from. We have broad discretionary powers to decide that. It may sound like, oh, you know, it's a terrible burden we carry. None of us want to make these decisions, and we hate it. And we lay awake at night worrying about it. So when you say that, I just want you to understand that whatever way we decide, it's not taken lightly. We lay awake worrying.
Hold on, Mark.
Come on. Just to follow up Richard's comment. May I respectfully suggest, why don't you leave it entirely in the hands of the vendors, and you people address complaints?
Well, we have staff who does that.
Well, what I'm saying is, let the vendors do their best to merchandise their product, and if a complaint arises, we'll take your skills and you as mediators to iron out the complaint.
Can I just ask that you guys come up to the microphone, because I want to be able to...
I want to let everybody speak here. I don't want the...
It's maintain decorum in town.
Does anybody else like to speak?
Yeah, I'll finish up, Tom, but Richard, the Midas muffler, or the muffler shop, again, maybe it does become the beauty in the eye of the beholder. He sells tires in there, so to have a stack of tires, I don't find that offensive. He sells tires, he does that kind of service work, so, I wouldn't. You disagree, or you have a different feeling towards that, and we all have some things that we're going to find, but I'm not aware of any other. I'd really have to think hard and say, geez, I hope this business doesn't do that, because it does. I don't know, Phil, if you have one that comes, to your mind.
I happen to think that vaping is better than smoking, but I sure wouldn't want, if there was a vape shop on the green, if there was, not that there is not, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not sure I'd want an outside display to attract more customers.
They're not going to put out small...
I'm just throwing it out. I mean, again, we have to go from the premise that what's the worst case scenario and back up from there. Not the best case scenarios. What's the worst case?
I mean, but it's like one or two bad apples, and we're going to, the whole carton of 100, we're going to try to penalize. I mean,
let's
I'm
stop.
not saying it's illegal.
Okay, let's stop.
Okay, Rich.
Is there anybody else that hasn't spoken that would like to speak?
I like to, but I think she got her hand up first.
She's already spoken, so
She's spoken before.
your turn.
You're up.
I really just have a question.
We'll get you there. We'll get you there.
Let her go, ladies first.
No, I want to get through everybody speaking, and then we'll go back to some more questions.
I'm Ralph Giamatti. I'm the manager at Central Pizza. Some of you I know, some I don't know. I wrote an email, I don't know, to Laura, somebody at the zoning yesterday.
Lisa Brewer, probably?
Lisa, I'm sorry, Lisa. I know, you received it?
I received your email.
Did it get read at here at all, or not?
No, it's a matter of record.
Do you want me to read it into the record for you?
He should read it.
Yes, or I could read it.
Would you like to read it?
I'd like to read it.
Do you have it with you?
No, I don't.
I have not seen or read or heard his letter.
We don't ever see this.
But no offense, just to say that anybody that wrote an email should have got read at this
So
meeting.
I put it on Simply Guilford so I could read what everybody said, because a lot of times we don't see what's in these official record letters. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're here and I'm glad you're reading it.
No, I am. I'm just saying, but in a meeting like this or something, anybody that writes an email, even if it's a sentence, should get read.
Yes.
Everybody's opinion, it matters. I wasn't planning on being here. I rushed from New Hampshire to be here.
Good.
Just to let you know. Stuck through traffic and everything. All right? Dear Planning and Zoning Committee, my name is Ralph Giamatti, and I'm one of the managers at Central's here on the Green. I'm writing this as a representative of the restaurant of which both the owners and myself are regrettably not able to attend in person, which I am here right now. I hope that our words and opinions, not spoken out loud, will be just as strong on paper. We're asking that you change the zoning rules in regards to how you treat and try to control day-to-day operations of our local businesses. All towns have zoning rules telling what we can and are allowed to do by law. However, town zoning should not have a list of rules and regulations that you cannot do. This is both bad and unfair to local businesses and business owners as well. What gives the right of the town committee to tell someone how they can run or do their day-to-day operations in business and how they should earn their money? In my opinion, these rules are anti-business and in this day of age, un-American. Both our neighboring towns of Madison and Branford do not have these rules. So I'm asking one question, why don't we? I know in Guilford's a beautiful, picturesque town. It's right out of a Norman Rockwell painting. It is. It's a beautiful town. I'm not even from here, I'm from Ansonia, and I love this town. Been here for 4 years now. But it's not the 20th century anymore. It's the 21st century. We got to move on. Guilford has to learn how to grow in the times of business and local businesses. And the local businesses, to be honest, that's the heart and the backbone of this town. I have heard people don't want this town to be a big tag sale on the sidewalks or throughout the town. This will not happen. I think if you leave it up to business owners, they know how to bring in more people, more tourism, to make more money to keep Guilford great. I ask in closing that these non-business rules and regulations don't tell us what days we can do one thing and what days we can't. I thank you for your time and ear. Let's come together, unite, and start making a bigger and brighter future for the town of Guilford. Sincerely, Ralph Giamatti, Daniel Ligori, and Carmen Ligori. Just in what I think, I'm not a business owner, okay? I'm the manager, but I run the business for the owners. I just see in this town, there's a lot of potential, but there's so much you cannot do. You can't do this, you can't do this. I think cafe tables would be great for the restaurants on the Green. It'd be nice. If it's done right, it's fine. I think if you have an A sign on a sidewalk, it's not an eyesore. I think if some customer or some merchant, is selling their clothes, as all these boutiques are on the Green, which, believe me, there's a lot of boutiques on the Green and a lot of stores. People want to look. They don't look like they're closed. You go by on a Sunday, you go by on a Saturday, it's like 3 o'clock, they're closed. Nobody's in there or whatever. So it draws business in, and the tax dollars from our business goes to you guys. The tourism from other people goes to us, and it regenerates to you. So everybody helps each other. But it seems this town's very anti-business. I don't know if it's a partisan thing or not, but, Democrat, Republican, Independent, doesn't matter. Business is business. Money is money. Everybody's got to get on the same page and help the town produce. And it's a growing town, believe me. This town is not going to be a little town anymore. I don't want to say it's going to be like Milford, but believe me, my family's from Milford. And I see how Milford was. Milford's a quiet little town, not anymore. It's going to grow. So eventually you can get on board, or you could stay in this tiny little circle in the corner, which isn't going to happen. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm speaking out of line or unrealistic.
Ralph, you made a good point in terms of reading some other letters that were given to the record. If you don't mind, I'm going to do that.
No, please read, because like I said, everybody's opinion should be read.
Yes. So this one is from Lisa Rico of Mary Jane Boutique, and it was sent today. Or yesterday, I'm sorry. Hello, unfortunately, I'm unable to attend the Planning and Zoning meeting June 1st at the Community Center, although I would like to take this opportunity to let you know I vote yes on 273-47 regarding the outdoor display of merchandise. I feel it will benefit my small business if I can put an outside display Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in April through December. Thank you. And this one is from Kim Maggs of Lulu Mags. Okay. Mangs. Sorry, Kim. Of Lulu LLC. I think that your willingness to bend the archaic rules that Guilford has enforced on allowing displays outside retail stores of the Guilford Green will be much appreciated by most merchants on the Guilford Green. What I do not understand is how a few can decide the rules and regulations of what can be displayed outside retail stores. By omitting the rack from what is allowed will decide the income of many merchants. I know that is a great attraction for anyone selling hanging goods and is a huge draw to one's store or boutique. If we can catch the interest of a patron who, with a sale rack, can determine the outcome of the day. I ask, who has determined that it is not to be included in the new bylaws? I urge you to reconsider the outcome of this proposal. Retail on the town green is a very large draw to both local and outside traffic. I think Guilford elders should be doing anything they can to keep retail in town and not force people to shop online or in other towns. And I believe outside racks is a huge draw to us retailers. I'm sorry I cannot be present this evening and will be out of the country for the June 1st meeting. Please don't disregard my plea because I'm not present to represent myself, as the last letter I wrote was disregarded. I thank you for your time and hope you will reconsider. Respectfully submitted.
So, George, could you just briefly mention to the group about the, for instance, the tables and chairs in front of Red Rooster? How those were approved? Oh, yeah. We're just going to talk briefly about the difference between the tables and chairs that the gentleman mentioned and other sorts of outdoor displays and how we've zoned those to approve those on a more permanent basis in the past. So those are not subject to the same kind of level of whim that some of these other displays might be subject to.
Okay. I also received the same letter from Mary Jane Boutique, also from Michael Gansey, who runs the Edward Jones Investments, thank you, on the green. I am writing to you this evening to make you aware of my support for the proposed outside merchandising policy for Guilford, CT 27347, as it is being brought up for review at tonight's Planning and Zoning meeting. This would be good for the residents and businesses of the town, and I look forward to the approval of 27347. Regards, Michael P. Gansey.
Okay, thank you. Wendy, you had a question?
Oh, I was just, when you were talking about the tires, it was just that B, under B says the size shall be limited to one display item, so it would be one tire.
One tire.
Could have been mufflers. A nice fountain made out of mufflers.
One muffler up front, it would just look like someone left a muffler.
Exactly. It would look like trash.
Tastefully done.
Okay.
George, could you just mention how the tables and chairs get zoned?
Those are two separate. Those are outside seating, outside dining is separate regulation from outside display of merchandise, and they're two totally different things.
Okay.
Anything else from me?
No, not unless you have anything else to say.
Thank you.
If I can just throw something out. I really
cut this off in a couple minutes.
Cindy Gray again. I think that it's kind of a unique situation in that most of the shop owners are owners. It's not a rent lease kind of situation that you would find in a shopping center. And we take great pride in our products and what we do. I think it would be a self-policing situation where we would not want to put out something that wouldn't represent us well. So, just my comment.
Anybody else that hasn't spoken? Sir.
James Weiser. I'm going to say some unpopular things. I'm sorry. But as you said, you want to hear.
What was your address?
41 Brookwood. I've heard a lot of facts with no figures, and I find that concerning. You know, that there's no number put to this at all. What's the value that's added? The other concern is, I don't know if encroaching on the public area to add value to business is appropriate. That's really my only comment.
You're talking about the fact that the sidewalk isn't owned by the business owner per se.
So if you're adding square footage at the expense of the public, I don't know if that's appropriate. And I have to say, I sympathize. I shop at Pages. I could probably buy things cheaper at Walmart, but I don't. But I do have some concerns about this because I feel it might, maybe. So if you do it at all, I'd like to see a cap, maybe a year, to see how it goes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am? Step right up. Watch the cable there.
Elsa Green, Kenneth Circle. I just have a question. It might not be the time or this situation, but since there's so many merchants, have they considered having one night a week where they stay open late to draw people into town, both restaurant-wise on the green and businesses open for people to come in? generally speaking, after a certain time of the evening, it is shut down pretty much. And I was just wondering.
Thank you.
I don't think, just to answer, we're open all the time. But it just seems, even being in the restaurant, being open, the hours over these past years, you could synchronize your watch on when everything shuts down and when everybody closes in. Sundays at 7 o'clock, everybody dwindles unless there's a concert in summertime. It's not that you can't stay open, you could, but if you're not getting the traffic, which I think you need a little more advertising.
If it were advertised as being the one late-night shopping night in town,
Which, you know what, no offense, I think that's something we should change.
We're off the track here.
Well, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to get off the track, but I want to bring it close. I don't know if anybody's on the Chamber of Commerce here, but
You sort of the guy, just talking brand.
okay, it would be nice, because here's one thing with the Chamber of Commerce. They always come in to ask for this or that, or a donation, or whatever. But I don't think they generate enough business, which it would be nice. I always get asked for a donation, a gift certificate, this, or money, constantly. But it would be nice to do something to just promote. I know you got the kiosk here, but it still costs money too. Just do something to generate business around. Something that doesn't cost the merchants much. Something that could be an email flyer out. I'm not saying, I'm bringing this up because it's a good point. There's merchants here, everybody wants to make money.
But we've got to deal with the regulation here, too.
Well, I understand, but this is a good point.
So if there's someone from the chamber here, I think they've heard.
Well, it's just a point. There's chamber people here. So there's maybe things we could do to generate, and then to answer her question, maybe we could open up more, because there'll be more traffic. But you don't have the traffic right now, that's the problem. Which, with the zoning, again, we look like we're closed, so if you have things open that look like you see shirts out, you see signs out, guess what? I drive by, I'm going to stop in. If I don't see anything open on a Sunday or a Saturday, guess what? I'm going to go by, or on a Monday.
Okay.
So it all is very relevant. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it is. It's very relevant to everything.
Okay.
Andrew.
Andrew, one last
I just
thing.
wanted to make a quick comment about the use of the sidewalks.
Sorry. Shannon can only turn this far.
Fair enough, thank you. In regards to using the sidewalks, all of us as business owners are responsible for maintaining those sidewalks. And I know probably 10 years ago or so, when the new curbing was put in front of Page Hardware, I footed a large part of that bill. So in regards to us using the sidewalk, the maintenance is thrown on us, which is, an expense that we incur. So I kind of feel, again, maybe a little latitude ought to be shown towards that, because, as I said, we are responsible for maintaining them. And I think as a general rule, when you walk around the Guilford Green after a snowy day, things are looking pretty good. So, just a comment.
Okay.
Could I just address?
We're not going to go back and forth here. Okay, please? You made your point, and he made his point.
Okay, that's all I got. I thank you. I think I've shown you that there's some pretty passionate people here this evening about this. I thank you again for your time. I look forward to your vote. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so where are we here?
You want to close the public hearing?
Yes, motion to close the public hearing, please.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on, Frank C. Magnata, PE, petition to amend the zoning map for property at 2455 Boston Post Road, map 84, lots 28 and 29, zones TS2 and R5.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Frank Magnata. I'm a consulting engineer representing the current property owner for one of the two parcels in question. To give you a little background on the parcel, this is a property that has been attached to an adjacent parcel on the corner of Boston Post Road and Westlake Avenue, the former Guilford Tavern site in operation. That has now been converted and approved for condominiums and some commercial office space between that site and the site that we're looking at here. All those uses that were approved under the basis of a TS2 zone. And even though the two parcels are essentially used together, the fact that there's a section of R5 on the one parcel to the north, which is the parcel in question, still creates some obstructions or restrictions to accessory uses, incidental uses. The property, as it was approved several years ago for site plan, has encompassed the entire two parcels. The development and the type of use has been restricted by the State Health Department to a maximum gallonage per day for sewage disposal purposes. So the existing and proposed buildings that are there now cannot be expanded or enlarged, nor can the uses be changed to create more sewage disposal. So the site, even though it is overall being used for commercial purposes, does not have the ability to be expanded. Again, if you look at the map, I think that was just passed out to you, see the property shaded in gray is the parcel, the small parcel that is just north of the original Guilford Tavern piece. You see the zone line that cuts through that parcel. On the bottom of that is the TS2 zone, and the top parcel is the R5 zone. The R5 being a residential zone. The property restriction basically caused by this zone cutting through the parcel is basically conflicting with the overall use and the way that the site was approved. For instance, the septic systems for the larger buildings incorporate both pieces. The application is to make the entire project, basically encompassing these two pieces, to fall under the same zone, the TS2 zone, and not have an encroachment or encumbrance of that R5 zone. As I said, the project does not have the ability to be expanded, but there are some incidental uses that are prevented from being placed on this property because of that R2 zone. For instance, there was an issue with the original site plan of having several parking spaces a little to the north and with a dumpster there. They could not use any part of that property that was zoned R5 for a commercial use.
So is this just a procedural oversight that happened when we drew up the TS2, or is there...
I'm not sure. I mean, anytime you see zoning lines drawn, I'm not sure. Sometimes they don't pay attention to property lines. They strike a line a certain distance from the highway, and wherever that falls, it falls. In this case, because of how it slices through this property, which has a prior, commercial use, it's basically has been created a problem.
And is the majority of the property is in the TS2, correct?
Yes.
How many feet are not in the TS2?
If you look at this map, this may not be entirely accurate, but there's about maybe 3 or 4/10 of an acre, possibly. That's an R5.
And what is the total size of the lot?
The area you see in gray there, is, I think it's 0.77 acres. Now that line, I have to ask George, because I've seen a couple of different locations on that zone line, both on this map and then on a site plan, but there's no question that zone line does slice that property diagonally.
So all that you're asking us to do is
make that consistently all TS2 zone.
With the property that is partly currently in TS2.
That is already partly TS2.
And it's already commercial.
Right, and the site plan has approved that both these pieces entirely as commercial uses under that TS2 zone.
It's two separate lots?
It's two separate parcels, yes.
So does TS2 require frontage on Route 1?
No, I don't believe so.
No. That's TS3.
There's all this property like backwards. Well, what happened when we were doing TS2? Do you remember?
I thought that TS2 was designed for properties fronting Route 1.
This property does front on. But it's two separate lots, right?
Front Route 1.
Well, it's not rear lot.
Lot 029 fronts Route 1, and 028 is just on Westlake Avenue.
See, we just had this issue with the TS3, and when I was having this discussion for the TS3, I was making that same point. I was saying, well, why are we including lots that are not
There's only one,
frontage?
right?
No, there were three. Well,
No, it
there-
happened.
no,
There's only one that
well, I
did-
guess there was only one, but there were
one
like
that didn't have
four.
frontage.
Okay, and I think that the reason what we said was, it was sort of, it's just a continuation of this entire lot, even though there are three parcels.
Well, the thing is, if we make this all TS2, then you're going to move the TS2 allowances up against residential properties that are currently protected from them.
They're already next to, TS2 is next to residential properties.
Right, there are other properties there that are currently not next to a TS2 that will become next to a TS2.
You're rolling it backwards into the woods.
Yeah, like I said, the movement of that line does not accommodate or allow us to expand the original site plan approval because of that restriction for the sewage disposal.
So you've got a site plan
It's
approval.
accessory uses and basically just eliminating this obstruction, this minor obstruction of the R5 zone.
So you said something about the dumpsters. Would making this TS2 allow you to move dumpsters up to people's residential properties?
No,
Yeah,
not right to the line.
not right to the line, but it would move.
There would be a setback from the
But I
from the
mean,
residential.
Far closer than if we don't make this a TS2.
A little bit closer, but again, the site is designed and approved, has been for some time.
So the site plan approval does not comport with the zone?
A little bit, yes.
And when did you receive the site plan approval?
Oh, that's been a number of years now.
So right now, they have a site plan approval for, and we can't take away site plan approval.
The site plan approval incorporates both parts.
He's going to come back with a bigger...
Both pieces are in the site plan approval as one
Is it possible
project.
for you to come back with a bigger site plan if we?
No.
Okay.
No.
So I think
It's
this is
always
just, I think
possible
this
to
is
come
just.
back with a bigger site.
Is your site plan currently in conformity with the entire lot being a TS2 lot? What I'm asking is it possible for you?
It's been approved as though it were a TS2
You already have the
project.
maximum amount of units on
Yes,
that property.
that's correct. And that buildings,
No, that's for the whole.
So that approval exceeded the approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So that approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission that you already have actually exceeds our authority for approvals for that lot.
I'm not sure if I would say that, no.
Walter, I want to.
There are other uses related to the commercial project that are on the R5 zone, but are not structures.
We're talking about two lots. Both lots make up the entire site plan.
Both lots are, for all intents and purposes, act as one under the site plan.
Oh,
Yeah,
Not for all intents.
Because the project could not function without both lots
Without the second
together.
lot.
Yeah, they could not, the site plan wouldn't exist.
But you can legally do everything that you were approved for. So you can legally do everything that you were approved for on that site plan.
Then why apply for it?
Well, as I said, the limitation is sewage disposal. But again,
More of a procedural cleanup, or
it is
are you trying to get more?
to clean up, no, it's a cleanup.
Sewage disposal is more.
That's the limitation, and the site was designed right to the maximum of that sewage disposal.
So Walter, what appears to be happening is that the site permit that was, or site plan approval that was given to them was given to them under the assumption that this entire lot was a TS2. So I think that right now, they're asking basically to clean that up. They already have.
So theoretically, if he gets more sewage approval, if that's what this is about, then the site plan can change.
I think you said you can't do
But
that.
you can't. The State Health Department has issued an approval some years ago for this that said that it absolutely could not ever be exceeded by a certain amount.
So if we said no to you, what would happen to your project? This is the first hearing anyway. I know, but I just want to.
I'm not sure anything would happen to the project.
Nothing, we wouldn't.
It's not directly the project itself. I think it's issues later on when you have a project constructed and there's two different zones on the property for future buyers.
The original concept in drawing the boundaries between the commercial zones and the residential zone was to follow property lines, not to cut property.
Not to cut properties, right.
With the zone line. I'm sure the original intent was that this zone line would follow the property line.
So which property line?
The TS2 with the property, with the line in the rear.
Look at these other lots, they're all...
Over the years, as the zoning maps change, as we went to a digital map, chances are it may at one point even follow that property line, got moved interior. So it is somewhat of it's a formality
to adjust the zone line and the property line so that they're coterminous in this case.
Again, considering that
it adds a tiny sliver of land to the TS2 to the TS2 zone.
Considering that both parcels have always, for a very long time, been in a commercial use.
Right, they've been in
their
common
entirety,
ownership.
Both parcels completely, even though they weren't zoned TS2, they were in a commercial use for quite some time.
In Lot 27 that abuts you, they know what's going in there. They've always known what's going in this site. Everyone in the town has known. So, I mean,
they're also
expecting
this zoning
except us. It's going to be what they applied for. It's the condos, the condos and the gym, right?
Condos and commercial. There's a small standalone building that was there on this parcel. It used to be was a residence. That was approved for commercial use and medical offices in that small standalone building.
So you just said something about if it sells. If you don't complete your project and then you sell the whole lot as a TS2.
Well, no, I didn't say, I mean, I was saying after the project is completed and built.
But you could, of course, this is for enterprise, you could sell the property tomorrow. If we make this a TS2 tonight and it takes effect in 2 weeks, you could put it on the market in 2 weeks and sell it as a whole TS2 rather than a split lot.
They could, but it would make no difference in the site plan for it.
So just so, there's only one meeting required for a map zone amendment.
Right, so we could do this
tonight. Yeah, that's what,
I mean, like the gentleman said, it's more of an administrative procedure where these lines just happen to be slicing through properties that have always been used for commercial purposes.
It's going to be so exciting.
If I understand it right, George, this is basically just a housekeeping.
I think so.
At this point, I think that's what it is.
Okay, sir. Any more questions of the applicant?
Thank you, sir.
Well, anybody? No? Anybody in the audience have anything to add one way or the other?
Public hearing, so we need to raise.
Okay.
We need to continue this public hearing.
Well, they're saying that it isn't required.
It's not required, no.
But we can if we want.
Yes.
Did you have unanswered
If it's not required, we can't.
We have to zone change.
He could say no, and we can't.
I'm sorry. What's the question? There's no mandatory second public hearing on a zoning map amendment, as opposed to a zoning text amendment, which has a mandatory second hearing. However, you can have another public hearing if you vote to do so. You can continue the public hearing, presumably for some purpose, to research something or to answer some question that we can't answer now. But you have the right to continue the public hearing.
Does he have a right? Don't we have to ask him if he would?
No, we can do it on our own, but there should be a reason why.
We have to conclude the public hearing within a certain period of time.
Okay.
But you can, if you want to, continue the hearing.
Unless, George, did he misrepresent anything in terms of the site plan?
No. This is, no.
I remember this site plan.
I don't.
This is for those of you who may not know, this is the project that a couple of years ago started construction and has fallen by the wayside. We now have some new interest, some new owner, I don't know if it's new ownership, but some new money in the property. And hopefully these new owners are going to restart the project and complete it, so it's not going to be a derelict, half-developed site the way it is right now.
So,
Do you have an opinion to it?
So we really have to, the first thing we have to do here is decide whether we are going to have a subdivision.
No, well, you could just, if someone wants to make a motion to close it.
No, George clarified it for me that it's a map amendment, correct?
Correct.
That's
And
correct.
therefore, it
There's
does
no
not
mandatory
require-
second public hearing.
Yes. I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There was nothing that needed to be brought.
Lee Schechter, 155 Lower Road, map 16, lot 49-3, zone R5, coastal area management, request to upgrade existing septic system.
Yes, my name is Lee Schachter, and obviously I live at 155 Lower Road, as you said. And I'm requesting an expansion of the septic system for my house so that I can add a fourth bedroom and get a certificate of occupancy for that fourth bedroom. The fourth bedroom will occupy existing space. It will not expand the footprint of the house. There will be no increase in impermeable areas associated with the bedroom. It will have a small dormer whose height will not exceed that of the existing house. In terms of the septic system, I believe it has gone through state review, and I don't believe there are any comments. It will be done according to a site plan submitted to you by Nemagut Consulting, and they'll have appropriate protection for runoff, and there'll be some test pits done, and there may be some modifications to that plan in accordance with the percolation tests which are performed.
There's a letter here from our environmental planner, Kevin McGee. He got a little bit ahead of himself in terms of the date, but have you received this letter? It's dated today, I presume, but that's okay. I'll just read it, and then I can give it to you after if you want a copy of it. Sent to whom? It's addressed to the, it's addressed to us. I'll read it in the record. It shouldn't be a surprise. It's not going to really affect you, except for one condition. The applicant is proposing to upgrade the sanitary system from a 3-bedroom to 4-bedroom, from 3-bedroom to 4 bedrooms. The leaching fields are being installed approximately 10 feet away from a FEMA flood zone, VEL 14. The site plan provides for erosion and sedimentation control measures that are designed to protect the adjacent coastal resources. The work being conducted could impact the adjacent coastal resources if the erosion and sedimentation control measures are not properly maintained. In order to make sure that the coastal resources are protected during the construction process, I recommend the following conditions of approval. One, and the only one, is the Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer.
You'll do that, right?
I got one from Dennis.
Oh, that's good, but you have no problem with that condition?
Of course not.
Okay.
I have one from Dennis Johnson dated yesterday. The applicant's septic system enlargement will be required due to a proposed increase in bedroom and flow capacity of the house. The proposed engineering design plan dated April 28, 2016 by Nemagut Consulting complies with the public health code requirements. It is recommended that the coastal area management plan be approved.
Okay. Any more questions, anybody?
That seems like everyone's okay with it.
Sounds like as long as you're good with the conditions, you're good.
Okay. Got it. Someone close it?
Move to close?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe we could go through the 5 that are not this Economic Development Commission experience, so that some of these people who are waiting on their approval go home, and then we can scrap out our EDC considerations. So maybe we could revise the agenda for items 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6, and then do number 4 after number 6.
Either that or we don't have to do it tonight.
Yeah, so we can do whatever.
Okay. So does someone want to move the revised agenda?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Okay, first one, Edwin Benton, do we have an
motion?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, John.
Order that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit for an accessory apartment, Edwin Benton, 413 Vineyard Point Road, map 4, lot 45, as shown on application dated 4/11/16. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective on June 10th, 2016, and filing with the town clerk.
Second.
Comments?
Sounds like a good op. He was very intent and diligent.
Okay.
I know this house, there's no opportunity for nuisance.
And it's well designed.
Nuisance, and it's well designed.
This guy dotted his i's and
It's a
crossed his
beautifully
t's.
designed house.
Okay, without further time, all those in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Second up is Deidre Jacob for the motion. Go ahead.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan and special permit application for outside dining and music for the Marketplace Emporia LLC at 77 Whitfield Street, map 39, lot 91, as shown on an application dated 4/19/2016. The application is approved with the following conditions: the outside dining and music be limited to no later than 9 p.m., and that live music be limited to acoustic and music and unamplified music. This application is approved based on a finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective June 10th, 2016, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Second.
Comments?
Mr. Chairman, this is the one that contains the lighting provision, the outside lighting.
Yeah.
It's not specified. It could be any kind of lighting.
Yeah,
And I
put it
know
in.
it's going to be tasteful, but, we're giving our rubber stamp approval to what could be anything.
No, the lighting is specified, and there's a
She actually had a picture of it.
fixture, or cut of a fixture.
So could I be refreshed as to what we
that-
talked about?
What it looks like, yeah, sure.
Is that in our approval?
Well, it's part of the application.
So that'd be yes.
I'll get it out.
Yeah. I'll show you.
Almost, yes.
So then it won't be like all the lights hanging on the front of this coffee store right outside the parking
I
lot?
love those.
I'm not familiar with what you're referring to, but we'll show you.
Okay,
We'll show you.
It's like a
So you're the only one that sees this stuff, Rich.
We'll show you. what it's supposed to
I can see them from here. What are you talking about?
I never notice them.
see them.
I don't notice them.
Yeah, where do you keep this?
That's a violation.
No.
Looking in the window
We
and
don't,
pointing it through.
so,
I
but-
believe
Here, we can look at that.
picture of her.
what we're really talking about is the number of lumens, right? We're talking about
Not that,
lumens,
it's
really,
not
in
that,
terms
it's
of
not
brightness.
specified in that manner.
48-foot black wire.
Little
warm
48
white.
foot black wire with
Warm white.
warm
Warm
white
white.
lighting on it.
I'm sure, though, she doesn't just need one. She'd want to use
So would this look like a Christmas tree lot with
I
the
think
lights
the lights
down?
are similar.
Kind of.
How big would you describe the
I think
elements?
Public hearing's closed.
no.
Oh,
I think we've got adequate specificity. I'm going to vote in favor.
okay. Anything that anybody wants to add to this? I mean, it was a good presentation. It's going to be a nice design.
We're worried about lumens a little bit, but the reality of the lighting is that you could
Yeah,
never
plus
get,
they have all this
you
new
could never
lighting.
get past that level,
The
that
public
threshold.
hearing's closed.
Yeah, I'm just talking to my, to the
You
chair.
know,
Call the question.
Okay,
well, the other thing we talked about was the music, and that's limited to times anyhow.
Right.
okay, hearing all of that, someone make, I'm going to ask you to all vote for it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Moving right on.
I'll make a motion. I have one.
Russ Campaigns hat.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit for the applicant Shahidi Residence at 480 Clapham Hill Road, map 81, lot 27, for an accessory apartment in a detached structure as shown on the plans for Shahidi Residence. 4 sheets prepared by CK Architects and Anderson Associates dated May 18, 2016. This application is approved with the following condition. That a map combining parcel A and parcel A1 be filed in the land records of the town. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective on June 10th, 2016, and upon filing along with the lot combination map in the clerk's office.
Second, and ask the mover to remove the condition, because it's not going to be too relevant.
Yeah. I mean, the only
you wanna
reason why I
keep
keep
it,
it in there is because he said he was
We'll
okay
keep
with
it.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he has every intention of filing it, and I don't think we'll be interrupting his process by leaving it in there.
There's no risk of
He
that at
didn't,
all?
if he said it was a problem, I certainly would have.
So this,
Director of Health wanted to
so
see.
this is already a pre-existing building on the property, correct? We're not doing any new addition.
Over 10 years old.
Over 10 years old. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say no. Okay,
There's
And then
one more. Or no, there's two more.
Lee?
Since I gave Mr. Magnotta a hard time, I'm going to read the motion.
Are we bunting over the EDC?
We're going to
do that.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve an amendment to the zoning map for property at 2455 Boston Post Road, map 84, lots 28 and 29, as shown on map dated 5/3/2016 from the Guilford GIS system. This amendment is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the Plan of Conservation and Development. The amendment is effective June 10, 2016.
Second.
It seems like there was an error at some point along the lines, either by us approving them when we shouldn't have, or by the town not drawing the lines appropriately.
So this is really more housekeeping, and
Yeah.
something needs to be done with the lot
No,
of this
there was
money.
nothing wrong with the approval that
Then
they
there
were
was never any,
granted.
okay, so then it does, either way, it only has to do with us zoning
Well,
the,
I mean, it's typical to have them just
Yeah.
draw a line 150 feet back from a state highway, and that becomes a line, so.
When they drafted this, they just ran it
Yeah.
parallel from Route 1.
So we're all ready to vote on this?
Yep.
Everybody in favor say aye?
Aye.
Nobody opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain, okay.
Abstain.
Lee Schechter,
Bill abstain.
155 Lower Road.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a coastal area management application for Lee Shatner as shown on a site plan and erosion and sedimentation control plan, Lee P. Schachter, dated 4/28/16, prepared by Nimmer Consultants. Nimmergut Consultants. This application is approved with the following conditions. One, that the town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. The application is approved based upon a finding that conforms with the zoning code and is consistent with the coastal area management policies of the state of Connecticut.
Second.
Any comments, additional comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No? Nobody opposed. Okay. So now we can go back to the Economic Development Commission petition for...
Chairman, I guess I have to sit off on this too.
Okay.
All right. I'll just go home then. Lucky boy.
I guess you might, well, we do have... We do have...
That's right, we still have two.
Richard, you can probably just go home.
Yeah. Well, this is going to get me just in the seat. We'll be able to go home.
They're safe.
Okay. We do have a proposed motion. How do you guys want to handle this?
I'll make a motion, and then we could discuss it, vote it up or down. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve an amendment to the zoning code as proposed by the Economic Development Commission, dated 4/13/16, and filed with the Planning and Zoning Office. I will put in there a condition to leave this for 1 year and to reopen it in a year if there are any problems, I guess either way. But this amendment is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with a plan of conservation and development. The effective date of this amendment is June 10th, 2016.
Second. So,
Excuse me, was that a condition you put?
I did a 1-year condition. I think to get the ball rolling, we can either take it away or add to it, whatever you want to do, George. What was that?
I'm not in favor of that.
Well,
Take it off then.
well, I mean, we'll leave it on and then we'll discuss it. I mean,
If you run into a problem with the police or protection or any zoning thing, you can bring it up at that time.
yeah, I don't disagree with you. I personally wouldn't necessarily think the 1 year, well, I don't know. I think that we have something on the books right now.
We do,
No,
if we do for this place.
it's not just the current permit, the trial year that we had.
I just think it's an unnecessary step to put in there.
Sure.
I think it's a really large escalation from where we are, which was a large escalation from nothing. It's easy to just say, oh, it's going to be one tire, but it's not going to be one tire. And what I heard nearly everyone talking about was racks. I heard the word racks 22 times.
Racks are not permitted.
Yeah, racks are not permitted.
So, I know that they're not permitted in this, but I know that people hear what they want to hear, and enforcement is going to be, compliance is going to be a disaster. Like I said, I want businesses to prosper, but I don't tell them to go put out 20-foot wide lit-up signs that blink saying, come on in and get some pizza. And I realize that a lot of folks have an opinion about what makes the character of town, and that it may have been that they had a blacksmith shop which went out of business after 12 years because there wasn't enough business, and they had all the stuff hanging out back in 1650. So, someone said, well, what gives us the right to do that? And we have broad discretionary powers. It's an unfortunate burden that we carry. It comes with the territory. I went into this on the fence after listening to what everybody said. I'm leaning against it only because of the presumption that it's going to be racks of stuff. One of the commissioners said some things he probably swayed the commission with, which was inappropriate at the beginning of our deliberation, at the beginning of the hearing. And I'm going to ignore that. But there's a lot of things about, someone wrote in about looking at a tag sale in town. I don't know that it's going to do that, but I do know that without this rule in place, I saw a display of tires out on the sidewalk. That same store had 3 signs out this weekend. They're only allowed 1. So compliance is an issue for me. Appearance of the town, character of the town is what everyone is saying that they want to maintain, that this is a vibrant, wonderful town, and that it's beautiful, and people come here from all over. And I don't know that this is going to keep, a little chip here and a little chip there, and eventually all the truffula trees are gone, and we have nothing left but bare plains. So I don't know. I'm still open to discussion. If someone can convince me otherwise, I'll hear.
I would suggest that it be looked up to the zoning enforcement officer.
But the thing is, we're granting full approval. This is
Zoning enforcement officer.
No, you're missing the point. We're saying it's okay. There's nothing to
She
enforce.
would know that there's 3 signs and they only allow 1. She should let her know.
Well, I did that all last year. Reggie, I probably wrote to you 30 times about signs.
Yes, you did.
And they're not
At
compliant.
least,
And
sure.
one of them even thumbed their nose at you, and we had to give you authority to fine him $150 a day because he didn't care what you said. You wrote letter after letter. So the business community, unfortunately, has brought this on their own heads. It's
Well,
not
you're
like...
right about the signs.
That's just one individual.
Yeah, that's an exception to the rule.
No, it's not. No, it's not one. How many was it?
There were a lot of letters that were about signage. We're discussing outdoor
Right, we're talking about
display.
compliance,
Well,
though.
he's talking about a single one, and you're saying there's a lot?
There were a lot of letters that I wrote about
Yes, so what
signage.
actions do you take? Do you present with a fine or?
No, most of them removed the signs, but some had to get 2 and 3 letters.
So, George, what we did maybe last year, I think, took a big step in terms of giving Reggie and what I was hoping the easier ability to rein in a lot of Richard's concerns regarding signage and violations of other, in fact, just the regulations that we had in place for the past year. I was hoping that giving Reggie the authority to go out and sort of find people without having to come to us would help. And maybe Reggie's so used to writing 3 or 4 letters, maybe it shouldn't be 3 or 4 letters to address the sign issue. Maybe it should be 1 letter, you don't take it out, here's your fine. 1 letter, you don't take it out, here's your fine. So, I mean, Reggie has the authority, the town, we have the ability, it's just whether or not we're going to be sort of a police state in the sense of sending out fines on a regular basis. And I don't necessarily think that's a problem, but that's not what we have been doing, as the zoning enforcement officer has not been doing that. In terms of, I think Phil was right on with, we have to take this from the absolute worst case scenario. And the way that Rich approaches it, I can't really agree with, because I don't think that we can go in this assuming everyone is going to break the regulation that we have in place. I do think we have to go into this assuming that the worst case scenario is going to happen. And the only way we could do that is by looking at the regulation, that we have and seeing really under this regulation what the worst case scenario is. And Phil brought up the vape shop. So the worst case scenario, in my opinion, with the vape shop would be them dangling a vapor outside of their a vape unit, I don't even know what they're called, vaporizer, outside of their facility. That is sort of, what I would think is the worst case scenario for a vape shop in terms of, when Rich brought up the tire display. The worst case scenario with the tire display is one tire being outside touching the factory, or not the factory, hold on, Rich, let me finish. The one tire touching the building. So we have to look at the regulation that we have. We have to understand that Reggie has the full authority to fine every single merchant if they are not abiding by this regulation, and we have to say, what is the worst case scenario? And are we okay with that worst case scenario? And are we okay with Reggie either fining the person or not fining the person? That's really realistically how we have to approach this. We cannot approach this assuming everyone is going to completely obliterate the regulation. Well,
that's not happening.
Well, I'm not talking about self-police. I'm saying that this is just like speeding. This is like anything else, okay? Police officers, I like to assume, they're out there not to catch you speeding. They're out there to prevent you from speeding. They're out there because their presence. You know that if there's 3 cops on duty in Guilford, okay, maybe I'm going to go a little bit slower today. So, 2 cops, however many cops there are. So the point of Reggie is the fact that the zoning enforcement officer has the ability to levy a fine should be the effect of a police officer. Police officers don't assume everyone is speeding. Well, I hope that they don't assume everyone is speeding, but the bottom line is that Reggie has the authority, and we have this very limited thing. And in terms of, when we talk about style or how things look, Paige was right on. They're not going to put something out there that's going to drive business away. You might not like how it looks. I might not like how it looks, but the 20,000 people in town might think it looks great. The people that I like, the way they look, the girls or whatever it is, you might not agree with me.
It's not the subject.
No, well, I'm just trying to say that you can't say that something is tasteful or not tasteful because everyone agrees to something being different, and capitalism, at the end of the day, is what's going to drive the tastefulness of the product.
So with that in mind, let me bring up a specific case about worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the entrepreneur, the skilled gentleman who's running this store, is really driving people to the store. When I go down Route 95 and I stop up at Home Depot to pick up some plants for my front yard, I go back and I come back up Frontage Road on the other side coming towards Guilford, and there's a guy who has a fireplace store there. And this genius thinks that it's a great idea.
The smoke.
The smoke.
Yeah, I see
So
that.
the vape store can have smoke coming out of the front of the store.
I don't think the vape store does. I do not know.
That's his
vape
product.
store does not sell smoke. They sell the cartridge.
He's going to say, this is my product.
No, but that's something that Reggie could have the authority to fine him at. That is absolutely not the case. He sells a cartridge. He doesn't sell smoke. It takes me to inhale and then to exhale for there to be smoke. He doesn't sell devices that you walk around and it's smoking. He can't just have smoke billowing out. How is that a product? Tell me how smoke is a product.
If he takes his whatever the liquid is, and I don't know what the liquid is, and he puts it in a vaporizer, which he sells in his store, and the smoke comes out just like the bubbles.
Someone's got to be there smoking it. It doesn't.
There's a vaporizer that does it. And it's just like the bubbles from the.
That's wrong. I think that's
vaping mouth.
I think that's absolutely wrong. But what I do think might be right would be if we had like Hogan gas out there with one of their grills or something, and that run. Yeah, okay, that could put us in the problem that you're suggesting. But short of that, I mean, it's not going to happen from the vape store. There's no way that he's selling smoke. That doesn't make any sense. Absolutely.
Whenever I'm faced with a dilemma, I always go back to when I was going to be chair, and Ray Bauer was holding my hand for a long time. And he said that you have to be really cognizant and aware of unintended consequences of everything you do. And it's true. Of all the things we're thinking of, we're not going to think of the most egregious ones because there's some genius entrepreneur who is driving his business and say, I've got a great idea. I know what I'm going to put out there. And we're not going to come up with it yet. But he's going to think, it's going to be okay in here.
My comment is the law of unintended consequences here is without their ability to have some displays, they're all going to be gone, and it'll all be real estate agents or doctors or something else on the grid. And the tourists will not be there.
Well, that's certainly what they're alleging. I mean, we have to take it for what they said.
We're also giving permission for the folks up at the Guilford Commons to put stuff out. And I don't even know, like, when they first opened up their stores, they had all those feather signs.
Well,
I don't know where their sidewalk is.
But I actually don't know that you have the legal right to not have to put something up. They're not facing a road. Everything is looking inward to their parking lot.
Oh, no, he's talking about on the actual Route 1.
Well, it has to be touching the building in the statute, or right, it has to be touching the building, so Reggie can go out there. We could tell Reggie, why don't we tell Reggie, listen, first time violation, don't even write him a letter, give him a fine. Everyone knows, everyone knows what this regulation stands for. Let's just start fining people. I mean, if that's realistically what the concern is, that people aren't going to abide by this regulation, I personally like to believe that not everyone is a speeder, and I like to believe that the majority of merchants are going to follow this regulation.
George and Reggie are trapped between a rock and a rock all the time.
Don't quote George.
I don't have any county regulations. I mean, if you're concerned about unintended consequences or not sure what the consequences are going to be, that's the rationale for putting a sunset on this, a year or 2 years or whatever. And if something pops up that we haven't thought of, at least you're only dealing with it for 2 years. Or 1 year, or whatever it might be.
We're not only dealing with it for 2 years, we're dealing with it from what was just 1 weekend a month.
No, but
to every single weekend.
What was our last stat?
It was 1 weekend a month.
No. Is that the one that we had for 1 year? What was the one we had for 1 year?
That was 1 weekend a month.
Yeah. 1 weekend a month.
Okay.
And there was a...
It was the first weekend.
Correct.
Right, and now it's every single weekend.
This time
except for January, February,
Yeah, it was
March.
the same time.
But it wasn't one item like this was racks on the sidewalk.
No, it was still one. It was the same exact thing, except for, I thought
No, it was racks on the sidewalk.
Well, that's not permitted. So that's something that Reggie could go up.
We didn't know what one item was.
No, the other did not limit it to one item.
Okay, so now it's one item.
But what some of the merchants said to me was, well, 1 weekend a month, what if it rains? I lost that opportunity.
What if it's beautiful?
They got the opportunity.
There you go.
So this would broaden.
Well, right now, Phil,
Why aren't we doing it every day? Whenever it's if it's a beautiful Tuesday.
You can't do it because all that's proposed is...
Oh, no, I don't mean that.
So why didn't they propose 7 days a week?
Why wouldn't we just go back and re-propose every day? What would be the downside?
That's up to them, isn't it?
Well, we'd have to vote this down and then ask for them to repropose it, or we'd have to send this to the zoning.
But we can modify it, right?
Modify.
No,
we can't because it's been...
We can't modify upward. We can modify
We can make it
downward.
narrow, so we could limit it for the 1 year or 2 years or...
Or a fewer number of weekends.
Or a few number.
No, well, here's... Move it on.
A mannequin. It says
So here's the thing. This is written both too narrowly and too broadly as it's drafted right now.
What do you mean?
It's too broad in the sense that it's constant, and it's too narrow in the sense that one item for a certain type of shop is ridiculous.
Yeah, a bookstore.
Which is what we brought up.
Yeah.
A bookstore.
Yes.
A bookstore is a book. What does that mean? I don't even know what that display would look like.
Is that the same book?
It could be 50 copies of the same
So isn't
book.
that the same as the tires?
Maybe that would work.
One
They're all
item.
the
Oh,
same
see, so,
We
right.
see,
so
so that's what gets so weird about this, is the way that it's drafted, it's...
Guess what they mean.
Well, how do you
It's got a
decide what
lot of
that's-
ambiguities
See,
that
the
are very
spice store
strange.
has 100 different spices, but they're all spice, so that would be one item.
It's drafted pretty strangely for us, but also what they're really asking for, and I'm going to say this to the commission that's left, as well as the business owner and the journalist and the member of the public, they're asking for a permit system. It's not zoning per se that they really want. What they want is the ability to do these things when it's worth it. So really, obviously, of course they would like to spend $0 on such a permit. But if they want an ordinance that allows them to do this, and they want to actually provide value back to the town for this, right? So for instance, this is so valuable that Lulu's or Ella's, that Ella's was willing to spend $200 to set it up. And that was a one-time thing, of course, so it's over, so it is what it is, right? But what they're actually doing here is they're looking for a way to set up a permit system so that they can get a permit for the season or for the year to then make sales off of that. And if they're not doing that, then they're just looking for a free way to possibly make extra money off of town property.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what the public brought up, is that this is on
the sidewalk.
You know, Mr. Page said, well, he paid for the curbs.
There's nothing set up for retail sales along it, just
Oh yeah, no, it brings more people in, right? So they want to add
So you're
value.
suggesting that they should pay more taxes because they're using more because they're not retail?
Well, usually we hear a lot about increasing the tax base here on this commission. A lot of commissioners talk about increasing the tax base. We almost never hear about the extra costs that would go into increasing that tax base.
Let's stay on this.
And we almost
Come on,
never
stay on this.
And we almost never hear about revenue, right? But the reality is that revenue is really what they're talking about when they say tax base, right? So if there is something that is of significant value to these merchants, and it's so worthwhile, so incredibly worthwhile, then there should be a specific price on that. And it should not necessarily even be high.
No, but you could then boil it down to a permit process and take it on an individual basis, then you can do that.
But I don't know why we're here.
Are you suggesting that every merchant, if they want to do, they have a right to sort of do something outside?
If they want to take up half of the sidewalk.
They have to go to town hall or whoever it is and say, here's $50 for my use of the sidewalk for Monday and Tuesday. Is that what you're sort of suggesting?
That's what they're talking about, except that they would like it for $0.
Okay. So, of course, I don't disagree with you, Walter, in the sense that this is not the perfect drafting of this document. I think there are a lot of ambiguities, but
it zigzags around
the one area that I do disagree with you on is I think that the merchants have made it very clear, and I don't know how to address this. I think that there's a problem and that there needs to be resolution. And we had this in front of our zoning committee last year, this has been an ongoing thing, and I think that it is a problem, and we do need to do something about it. And that 1 year sunset for the other provision is up. Obviously we should have spent more time in the zoning committee to rework this and to make this something that would be more useful to all the town's merchants, because you're right, the bookstore, what are they going to do? So, or even the tea store, the spice store, they're not going to really be able to benefit from this. So I think that we do need to have a regulation that all the merchants can benefit from to some extent, while at the same time it be under control and reasonable. Unfortunately, this is what's before us. We could set this for 6 months, we could set it for 3 months, we could set it for a year, but I think going back to this, what we have in our regs, which is what they're currently under, because there's no other, I think that there's no other option.
That is too tight.
I think it is.
I agree.
And I really think that we need to do something, and if it means passing this for 6 months or 3 months until we could figure out a better solution, then that's what we should do. I mean, I really think that we need to do something, because this is going to become a nightmare for everybody.
So what you're saying is with the end of their 1 year bargain, they can't put any more of their clothing racks out on the street under the old plan.
What I'm saying is that the old plan, I mean, personally, and this is just me personally, yeah, I think that 8 days a year, I think that's just too much of a constraint. And I think that's something that we've talked about at this committee, planning and zoning, for a very long time. Last year, and went to zoning committee, we tried something different. I know that there were some problems with that something different.
There were a lot of problems this past year.
Okay,
what 8 days are there? What's the rationale?
So I don't know what the rationale with this regulation is.
It used to be 6 days, and then it was increased to 8 days.
So
what 8 days is it?
It's any 8 days.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Any 8 days that
They just have to ask, and then they get it.
So
how do you monitor that?
Well, they have to tell us
okay.
what days they want.
Could we
And
possibly-
they can't be more than 3 days in a month.
Could we possibly do something where, at this point, this says April through December, we're already at the end of May, we're into June. So we have June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Could we compromise here? Could we say that do this through Christmas? So at the end of December, we do not have a regulation again, and make it let's just say, make it every other weekend.
Why do we have to have such an exponential jump in this?
So if that's
why are we going from what was given as one weekend to every single weekend, plus all the federal holidays?
Make it every...
Plus the original
let's get a number.
I mean,
Let's get a number.
what my hope was, I want to support the businesses, but I don't want to see, what is ostensibly a 5X jump in what's being done. So I'd like to see it moved or continue to be implemented as it was, but I'm against the exponential increase.
So do you have a number in mind?
I'm in favor of doing what was done in the past and some nominal increase.
So when you mean what you mean going?
No, the 1 year.
The 1 year. Okay, so the 1 year. So that was one
if
weekend.
we wanted to figure out some nominal increase that we all could agree on, I would go with that.
Why would there be an increase?
Again, I want to help support, and if it's going to help support them, great, but
the role of the Planning and Zoning Commission is not to support businesses per se, it's to protect the value of property in town and promote public safety.
Rich, I got to argue, 83% of the people in this town responded to this positively that they want to see this done. Very few people, there was only one person here. I like the gentleman stood up, but the numbers you're talking about, there's not a large outpouring of people against
how many comments were there on that to get to 83%?
I don't know.
George, can I ask
a lot more than there were people that complained about.
Maybe 12, so 8 out of 12. I mean, it's not exactly a referendum where everyone voted on it. I mean, it's a very imprecise
At best,
science.
it's 8 people, plus they packed the room with business people. This wasn't a representation.
Richard, would you let me finish my statement, please?
Oh, I didn't hear you talking, George.
I was asking George how this applies to the food trucks that we see in the green now.
The food trucks are governed by town ordinance,
The town
not a
ordinance.
planning and zoning regulation.
Okay.
They're on the road.
I mean, I see they have no sanitary facilities.
That's a town ordinance,
Okay.
not
It's not under
planning and
control.
zoning
We have nothing to
regulation.
do
We're
with it.
talking about
It's a health situation.
a planning and zoning regulation now. That's a different.
Yeah, but they're not merchants, as we know, with a storefront.
I think
Driving a
obviously
truck around.
there's a problem, and I think that this needs to be sent to the zoning committee. It needs to be reworked, and a lot of time needs to be spent on this, which it should have been and obviously the ball was dropped by us as a committee, because this really should have been a cleaner, more appropriate version, so we didn't leave the merchants hanging. But I think that it's our fault that we left the merchants hanging, and we need to resolve an issue.
Okay, so what are you saying?
I'm saying that I agree with you, Tom. I think that, we should restrain this until December of 2016, I guess January 1 of 2017. And from now until then, we come up with a regulation that will work, because this is too broad and too narrow all at the same time. I can see how it is going to be confusing. So, but I really do think we need to do something for the merchants. Because otherwise, I mean, what are you going to be doing, Reggie?
Writing letters about racks on the
So there is a
sidewalk.
motion, there's a motion on the floor, right?
Yeah, in a second. But I'd like to amend my motion and not make it for 1 year and just make it until January 1, 2017.
As it's currently submitted.
As it's currently submitted. And I think that we as a committee has dropped the ball entirely for the town. We need to do something to resolve this issue. And I don't think this is going too far, and I don't think it'd be difficult for Reggie to monitor. So if George would re-second it, it's up to him.
Actually, I think I have the second.
Oh, okay, then if Richard re-second it, then that's up to him.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Richard.
Yes.
But he didn't agree to the revised version.
Richard hasn't agreed.
No, okay, so I mean, that's just hanging out there.
What do you do with that?
Come on, guys.
Oh,
So-
we're back to the year.
So here's my dilemma. I have a lot of dilemmas with this, and I realize that I was cautioned at the beginning of the meeting that I sometimes make it personal. It's not personal. I have real issues with this. And a perfect example would be the books. You know, you could have 1,000 copies of one book. It could be the tires. It could be 50 exact same tires. And under this wording, it's vague enough that we would be saying yes to that. We're saying yes to every single business all the way through town, from the west end of Route 1 all the way to the east end of Route 1.
This says one display item. And the size shall be limited to one display item.
So I say a display item is the tires. That's one item. It's a tire. They're all tires. So it's ambiguous.
Well, it's up to Reggie. Reggie, what would you do if you saw 50 tires? Are you going to send them a fine or not?
Reggie is the law.
I mean, that's really what it is.
Put a mannequin
And
that
then
doesn't have
just
just the dress on.
and they say to us, listen, this is ambiguous.
So he says
It's
no,
ambiguous.
Reggie, you don't know what you're talking about. It's
I'm
one
going to
thing.
sue you. And that's what would happen. This is what lawsuits are made of, because it is ambiguous.
As drafted, it does not make sense. That's the thing. What we've got, what we're physically holding in our hands, does not make sense in terms of what someone could put out there that they would ever want to put out there. No store display that I've ever seen meets this requirement unless it's Tractor Supply and they put out one tractor.
I mean, we talk about like Walmart. They're going to put one noodle outside their door. I mean, one box.
Right, but see, they went to the trouble of getting a permit. They have the.
They got a variance.
They already have a variance.
Right, so they did the right.
Dress, a scarf, and a hat. Is that one?
Okay.
Call the vote.
Well,
What is the
you're just going to leave it at the year? Well, is there any
We don't, I mean...
So what's going to happen then is we're reverting back to the 27347 that's in our regulations right now, which limits them to 8 days in one calendar year. So that's what we're going back to.
Figure it out.
Well,
One weekend and one.
Same as it is as recently expired. Well, until we figure it out.
Well, not really, because that only allows 8 days.
No. He's saying that we have one that we sort of were testing with where there were a lot of ambiguities in it as well, and we saw those come up with in terms of the rack and all these other things. So I think that's what this was an attempt at, was to correct some of the problems in that first one.
So you're saying one weekend a month?
I'm saying this, but instead of 20, every single weekend for ostensibly the whole year except for the winter severe months.
All right, you know what, I could support one weekend, but I want it to be one item. That means one item, not 50 bucks, not...
And I would say that one weekend until we figure this out, and if that's till January 1.
Whatever it is, yeah.
I could support that.
And if we figure it out sooner, then we'll implement something different.
Also, every single person who was actually here that I think actually every single person, but everyone that I identified for sure has a business that is in a historic district.
I don't think there's anyone here that wasn't from downtown.
Well,
Right, they were just direct.
And also, the majority of people that testified today would not benefit, I think. They made it clear that they're not going to benefit
Yes,
from.
Centros wouldn't participate.
Centros wouldn't. The Spice Racks said that they would.
Pages already has their thing,
Pages already
and
has their-
they're beyond
So
our...
what we're really doing is we're making it beneficial because they all testified that the more traffic that the other stores bring us, then that's better for us. So they all think that.
We have this motion on the floor. So we would have to vote this down.
Yep.
No, well, he can still amend with the second.
Yeah, I'll make an amendment to my motion. I'm going to say, well, with this current regulation, we'll do one weekend.
First weekend? How are we going to do
No,
this?
well, see, the problem, I know Reggie went in there, Reggie discussed that it's a logistical nightmare to just pick whatever weekend.
So just make it the first.
I know, but I don't disagree with Reggie that the problem is if it rains, I mean, I know what you're saying, Phil.
As soon as you control the rain, you'll let me know.
I know, but I can't.
But they're talking about Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so there's 3 days. The odds of there being rain on all 3 days is unlikely.
Oh, but I had a rough wedding.
It's good luck.
I mean, listen, if that's what it's good, I think that we need to do something for the merchants. And
I would go one weekend, the first weekend of the month, and I would go with some way of defining what an item is. You have to say something, because the 50 tires look like heck.
What if it rains the first weekend?
Then that's...
Well, that's what we...
See, that's why I have yet to make my, I've yet to amend
It is what it is. I mean,
What if it
a
rains?
deer runs
Rich,
in
how
front of
about
my
one
car,
singular
that's an
item?
awful thing, but
One singular
The
item.
problem that we have though with what Phil said is and he's exactly right. You know, the store, the clothing store can't put out a mannequin with a skirt,
One
top.
item.
But
a
none of them
necklace.
said that.
I know, I understand that none of them said that.
Racks,
I
racks,
understand
racks.
that.
They're all talking racks.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you, but
Everybody talked about a rack.
I read it as the one item being one item anyway, singular item, without having to add that word to it. So we could add singular to in front of the word one. Although it says one display item, so display item would be...
One singular display item.
Okay.
So I would go with one weekend a month, one singular display item.
How about-
I would change my second.
All right, would we be able to do the first and the last weekend of every month?
No.
No, I can't do that. No.
So also additionally, I've just got a lot of concerns about certain types of vendors in the sort of non-walking areas.
Okay.
And until people come up with a good way to handle that, I know that people push that really hard.
So we're going to have to work on that. We have to, the zoning committee or the planning committee or this committee has to obviously put some legworks into this and figure out a solution, because there's a problem.
But that's not fair to Monroe Tire, and I hate to keep on running this guy through the mud, but he's trying to drive his business too.
Right.
And so, you know, if we say that the folks in town can put out one singular item, it's not fair to say he can't.
Well, I mean, we have different zones because we allow different things in different zones. It's just something we do. And there are a lot of...
So what you're saying is just the historic district?
So,
Okay, I mean...
if I were making this motion, and Josh's is still on the table, I would replace the final sentence of paragraph 1 with, I would begin the sentence with, "in historic districts, comma." Then down at the bottom, on letter J, I would say the outside display shall be limited to the first weekend of each month, beginning the first weekend in April through December 24th of 2016. Those are the only amendments that I would make, and
I think that
if the entire rest of the commission is amenable to that, then I would vote for that phrasing. If a couple members are still having doubts, then...
No, I mean, I think that's actually pretty, in historic districts. Where does that go? We go right here, so you,
In historic
let me just understand, are you saying that
Correct.
only historic districts can have the outside displays? Or are you saying that everywhere outside of a historic district, they do not need to have it adjoining a retail outlet? Is that what?
It means that it would only be permitted in historic districts. Because every one of
No,
these
wait, slow down, but Walter, that's not how that reads.
That's broader than the green.
All right, so change the words.
I just want to, just so that you understand, wait, Tom, just so, because I think Walter is actually broadening what he's saying, not narrowing it. It says, in historic districts, outside displays of merchandise on sidewalks up or other areas of the site immediately adjoining a retail outlet will be permitted, provided that the following conditions are met. So are we saying in historic districts only, or are you saying in all other districts, this doesn't apply and the rest of this regulation does?
He's saying in historic districts
apply
this
only to
applies, and
historic
all other
districts.
this applies.
Did I leave out a section?
Well, no,
I
it
failed
just,
to amend the
it just sounded a little awkward. No, I'm sorry, I mean, I guess then we need to really
We
go
gotta
back to the
send this
drawing
back to
board,
the drawing
because,
board.
I mean, I think that that's absolutely ridiculous. I'll move to continue this to, I don't know when we'll have another hearing.
I
think to
just-
move it down.
I think we should...
You're going to withdraw your
approve
motion,
something.
someone else
Well,
will.
no, I'm not going to withdraw them.
But
I'm trying to get there.
I think we should try and
I think we need
do
to.
one weekend a month per this regulation. I know the slippery slope of one item is going to be tough, but it's one weekend and we'll figure it out between now and December.
This is all we have in front of us. This is the only thing that we can consider with, and the only way we can go is contract.
So what I'm going to amend my motion to contract it to what Phil said, the one weekend, we'll say the first weekend of every month. I'm not going to include the language Walter wanted in the historic districts. He didn't say only, but only, and that's what I'll. And I'm going to make it until, instead of 1 year, whatever it is, I'm going to make it until January 24th, 2016.
So just to be totally clear, you are moving the original motion, and then with letter J, you are saying the outside display shall be limited to the first weekend of the month, beginning the first weekend in April through December 24th of 2016.
That's what I'm.
At which time
At which time
this expires, and then we'll either A, be in the same situation we're in today, or we'll be B, we'll have a better.
We're going to have a bunch of
3 months.
weekends plus holidays. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. So that's, does everybody understand where we're at?
Yeah.
And we're not just in the historic district, it's still townwide.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And
Still
we're
townwide.
saying one single, is that the word, one single display item?
We're leaving it exactly the way it is.
What is the word?
As drafted.
Oh,
What does the
December
word
20.
say?
All right, we
One
don't-
display item.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes,
One
so
display
size should be limited to one display.
So, and our intention of one display item is one.
Is one item. Is one display, well, no, because I think our intention included that mannequin with the dress and.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm saying our intention isn't 50 tires.
That's our.
Tire and
yeah.
two.
Okay.
So.
All right. We have 1 minute.
Could you, I know you'd like to do this, could you
You have a motion? A second?
Okay.
Have available.
There's a second.
Third, Richard, you give me second. It's such.
You're making 1 weekend a month?
Yeah, 1 weekend a month.
And what was the other contingent?
That was it.
That expires.
Oh, it expires
we're going
December
to have to move
24th,
it after the
2016.
break. We're going to have to vote it out.
Not necessarily. Are you seconding that?
Okay, call the
Okay.
question.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Opposed?
Who's second?
Yeah, who did the second?
Rich was the second.
So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 4, and 1 against. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
The rest of the agenda is just received, so you guys can do that in a couple minutes. You don't have to.
You want to try to push it, do we have more than 1 minute?
Or is that Shannon?
Well, we have
Go ahead,
a,
go.
you have a question on the agenda, you have a question,
Oh, so we'll have to go through.
interpretation of a regulation.
Yeah, interpretation state time.
Move to receive Edward Miller, Fort Great Harbor Road, map 14, lot COTT, Zone R5, coastal area management, modify the front of the house, including a new gable roof and the addition of 2 glass doors and a small deck to be added to the front of the cottage, section 273-91, receive and set public hearing date of June 15th, and I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Okay. Question, I guess the next one, we're going to have to stop here, right? Is this the correspondence one that you? I think it's Reg.
Yeah,
Yes.
a generator is mechanical equipment, that's what he's asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you consider a generator?
Absolutely.
I would.
Mechanical equipment.
Mechanical?
want us to
Put a
do?
generator on his roof.
On a roof.
You guys can keep going. I was on different tape time. We're good. Sorry. Just remember to
don't have to spend time. Shannon, you're killing us.
So,
Yeah, but a generator is definitely a mechanical, I don't know why.
killer.
I mean, if it were like a solar panel, I think you might have a discussion, but it's got moving parts, it's got gas, it's got internal combustion.
So it's the will of this commission then that generator is a piece of mechanical equipment?
Absolutely.
What else
Okay.
could it be? What else, what are our other
generator.
options?
You know, it just didn't meet
Did we say yes?
the definitions of all the
Okay, Mr.
other
Chairman,
things we
I
had.
make a motion to cancel the July 6th meeting.
What's going on?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the meeting, the minutes of the meeting of 5/18. They look substantially correct to me. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
And as much as there's no more business before the commission, I make a motion to close this meeting.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
How's that?
That's it.
Speed reading.
They said yes.